Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Fool's Landing, our second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragon campaign set in the Forgotten Realms. I'm the Dungeon Master. My name is Jamie, and I'm joined tonight by 5 great role players who I'll have introduce themselves and maybe your current predicament with the group. And then after that, we'll get into the levels and everything. I'll do an update on that. Let's start with first Molly. Good evening.
Hello, I am playing Gregor Carrywell, a 4th level fighter. He was a henchman, he was a Mithra's hunter, and he's hoping that now that we're back in Procampur, that she can be restored to life. He's heard of such miracles.
Yeah, and he's carried her this far, so we've finally reached a point where something might happen here tonight. We'll see. Good to have you. And next up is Chris. Hello.
Oh, hey there. I'm running Kurza, the 5th level elven mage, and we'll see how things go and whether we can actually get people raised or not. Do they want to be?
Will the dice let them? There's a lot of questions that might be answered. We'll find out soon, hopefully.
There's always reincarnation
One of our good to
instead of
have.
resurrection.
There's almost a little menu, a short menu, but it very short menu. We'll get into soon. And one of the affected next is Wayne. Good evening.
Hello. I think I want to come back as a flying fox, Jamie. That's what I want to be. Yes. I am Wayne, and I am also Seharn, a almost 5th level, actually, aquatic elf cleric who also may or may not be alive.
Yes.
We'll find out.
We shall find out. Awesome. Good to have you. Next up is Brandon. Hello.
Hi, I am Brandon. I am playing Nod, a Minotaur Thief, Shadow Thief. And I believe he is 5th, if not 6th level.
6th level now. Yeah, Nod is leading the way, setting the
Awesome.
example, and running a class that advances very quickly, but starts to slow down. It's got balance though. I think the group is pretty well balanced. We'll look here in a second at the latest XP update, but good to have you back. And last but not least this evening we have is Adam, who is playing. Can you hear us, Adam?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think I
go for it.
glitched out there for a second, but yeah, I'll be playing Bart again, a 5th level priest of Leira. He's interested in restoring his friends, but also conflicted about gaining the power for his own wants and needs someday.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody was a little tempted by last session, which we can jump to now and do a little bit of a recap. Here is the latest XP update. Nobody has leaped a level based on last session, but everybody made a little climb forward. We have, again, the breakdown here of the party levels. As they said, everybody's either 4th, 5th, or 6th level. And I guess with that, we could talk a little bit about, where we left off. Last session was in the Domes of Reason, which is a temple of Ogma in Procampur, where the party has sought refuge, really. And I'll hand it off to you all to maybe give a quick recap on how did we end up here in the library last session. Anyone remember?
Well, here we go. We're all good at this, aren't we?
Yeah. A crazy, conflagration of talk to figure out what we wanted to do. And I think, was it Griff that came up with the idea that we used?
Yeah, it created a
I think it
permanent
was.
portal.
Yeah,
between...
I think Baden suggested it as well. You guys were, everyone was giving some input, and Baden gave some input, and then I think Tim is the one that put it all together, if I remember. At least he got the framework together, and then you tweaked it a little bit and got it to where. What did you do? If anyone wants to cover that, just
I think I ended up writing it out and then reciting it to create our location and portal so that we could have a permanent portal between the Underdark and what is now Kurza's Cove.
Kurza's Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah, half day outside of Procampur.
Yes.
In a quiet little piece of forest. So it's not immediately obvious.
For now, until your portal and its dark connections to the Underdark start to No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it is tucked
you
away
never
in
know.
a quiet
Wait,
valley, and
I believe the property of that portal is only our party is able to pass through it,
it's
right?
actually that no evil may pass through it,
No evil. Okay.
that your party will activate the portal, meaning make the portal visible. But the portal is invisible unless you're near it. Basically, is the property. So it's still possible that a squirrel comes running along and bounces right through your portal and ends up in a dungeon by a genie
Well,
bottle. That is possible, but it's
no,
very unlikely.
actually, it
So
shouldn't be because we said we activate it.
yeah, that's just the interpretation that we went with, or I'm going
Okay.
with. It's a hidden portal. It's an invisible portal that only you can activate to make visible. However, it does have the filter on it that nothing evil may pass through it. So that's
That's
fairly
good.
important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's always
So some
there.
good is gonna just walk through this thing one day.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
could
We'll
be.
leave this some guy out rabbit hunting.
At,
Never come home.
yeah, at some point you could probably close it when you're much more powerful, but for now it's a permanent portal as you asked for.
Unless we build a structure around it ourselves, right?
You could fortify it. That's a good point. That could be
That's
your
a
home
good idea.
base.
That was a good idea to do that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, whose part or what part of whose kingdom does it lie in?
Whose kingdom does it lie in? It's still a part of the whole vast peninsula. I guess it's not really under direct rule of one of the city states, but there's
Okay.
well, I would say it's definitely in a wilderland area that's not necessarily a territory that's being sought after at the moment.
So in other words, it's not an area under contention until we build a stronghold and invite opportunity. Somebody's going to come poking their nose.
There's a lot of things you could do for sure. I think that I'll cut us over to where we left off. You made your way into the city gates, had a pretty much a beeline to the temple district in Procampur because the veil was coming. As you were entering the city, you started to see it on the outskirts of town. It was getting foggier and harder to see, and word that the city was going to lock down shortly after the veil arrived was definitely something you would have been told as you entered the city and made your way straight over to our temple district. Let's see, back to this. Yeah, I have the map in the upper left here that kind of shows
Mhm.
that the rooftops in the temple district are all covered in black, shiny black, and there's a lot of really grand temples here. Timora has a temple here, Denir has a temple here. There's altars and other things in this district, but the Temple of Ogma was your ultimate destination, and I guess that's where we'll pick up is with you all standing here back in the library with our session this evening, and I'd like to hand it off to you all and just give you a chance to discuss what your next steps might be. Take it away.
Quick question. We were here not that long ago. Does it seem like it hasn't changed much? Like it's still very locked down and tense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the city.
What is today's date?
That's
That's
it.
what I want to ask somebody nearby,
That's an interesting
one of the
question.
monks.
I'm gonna say that maybe even towards the end of, as you were walking through the temple district, that might have occurred to you to ask that question. And
Hmm.
from the time that you had left the city and you were in the city last, it appears that about 6 months of regular time has passed, and so you did feel like you were aging more rapidly when you were under the ground, but it's about 6 months that it's translated to as you've reached the surface again.
How
Interesting.
long was it for us?
What was that?
I was wondering how long it was for us, guys. How long were we under there? Not all that long.
No, you guys, in terms of sessions, you've been you've been away and in the Underdark or in the tower for at least a dozen sessions, maybe well over that. So it's been,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
what I.
only,
yeah.
But only about a few weeks passed
Right.
Has it
for our
even been?
character.
Correct. Yeah. In
Several
your time,
weeks,
it was couple. It was
or a
maybe
month,
3
2
weeks,
months.
maybe. Let's say. I was thinking
Oh, okay.
because you had left Procamper. It was several days until you reached the tower. You got in the tower, and then pretty much every session turned into a day where you would adventure
Yeah.
throughout the day, and then you'd be so beat up you'd have to camp. And so it equates pretty close to how many days you were away. So it was about, like I said, 12 plus the 5 days of sailing. So it's about maybe 17 to 20 days in that range in your mind, in your character's mind. So definitely it would be something that you would make that realization as you are standing here in the dome. So otherwise, you didn't notice a whole lot of change in Procamper. Definitely maybe fewer people. It didn't seem as busy to you, and you attribute that to the coming veil because you haven't been here necessarily during that time, and you're hearing a lot about the fact that things will be locked down, passage between the districts will be locked down, and getting in and out and about in your own district takes you'll be intervening likely with something at least in rumor or in enforcement is your understanding. So you're feeling like you might be here
Hmm.
for a couple of days in the temple, and it's a huge temple. There's libraries connected with cathedrals, altars, gigantic windows and inlays of Ogma, who is I think I have an artwork of Ogma somewhere. Let me grab it and throw it on here just so you could see what Ogma kind of looks like.
It is.
This
Okay.
is here's in the middle of the screen here is the avatar of Ogma, right? So you'd probably see murals with featuring Ogma, very bardic looking and spirited, but also definitely the whole idea of Ogma is that knowledge is the most important thing, and archiving knowledge and having a place that you can access knowledge is vital. So that's the vibe here. And again, I think you've got a frame with you. You've got your two
Hmm.
chests. As I understand it, you were able to bring two chests up through the portal, and there's one way, way back in the Underdark that you're able to retrieve. The two chests have, I think, around 14,000 gold in them, I believe, or coins in them.
I
And
think each one contained about 5,000.
oh, okay,
Each
so
chest that we had
you're
5,000.
okay. So you'll have around 10,000 total in coin value in the chest, and then the chests themselves you estimate have some significant value as well. So those are things that might be running through your heads as you're considering your next steps here. Anyone have any thoughts about what you want to do from here as you're huddled up in the library?
Is there anybody around that we could bother for wine?
Wine?
Wine. I would assume they would have wine instead of beer.
Sure, I think that you might even know of the fact that there's an area here where you can have some drinks and lounge around, and even maybe even a whole section of books that are about different things that are made in the realm. Absolutely, you could do that. And we'll say Nod is off looking for a little corner to sit and have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. Who else has business here to attend to?
I wanted to know how soon the veil is going to happen. Do we have a? Could we have asked someone or?
Yeah, after if you guys are just I don't know maybe huddled up in the library because I think what was your goal in coming to the library? I guess is my question. Is this just a safe space for you, or were you planning to do anything specifically here? What was the idea behind that?
I don't know that my impression was. I'm not sure who decided we were coming here. I think it was more your idea actually than any others
We're looking,
because
I
we don't
think the
really.
main goal was looking for a priest who could revive, and maybe the knowledge here could tell us who, or maybe someone here could actually do it because it is a church of a kind. That was the thought process of coming here.
Yeah, I think also that Griff, you had initially met Griff here was
Yeah.
the other thought, and that Griff was researching about Medusas and the Underdark when you ran into him here, and he
Right.
eventually joined you. So I think that was the other reason why is that this was a place where it had knowledge that you now have maybe more knowledge than they have on certain things, because you do have a lot of books and scripts that prove the existence of the whole tower and the Seychelles and what happened to those elves and things along those lines, including Mithrantar, which again is Baden's motivation, is to go to Mithrantar, and he's at this point been pretty patient, but you definitely get the sense from him that he wants to move back to an arc that leads him to Mith, and you guys are going to have to manage that and his expectations, or you'll likely, lose his interest, or his morale, I should say. But for now, he's gone along with this, and this has been important because you've got two bodies slung over your shoulders. And I don't know exactly what else you wanted to
I
do,
think
but
our first line of inquiry should be the two bodies. Is there anyone here talk to one of the clerics or somebody in charge here to see if a resurrection or raised dead would be some possibility anywhere in town?
yeah, after a while, if what else I guess you would be doing is maybe looking around, settling in a little bit, thinking
Do
about
they have
what you
rooms?
have, and eventually a would look like is someone that works here, let's call it, looks like they belong here, and maybe is even familiar to you. Definitely would be familiar to Griff, because it's someone who has been apprenticing here for long enough that they may have helped Griff initially find the right area to begin his research. And you see this human walk in who's plainly dressed, but you definitely can see some clerical elements of Agma in his style that he has, and he makes eye contact with your group. You're looking awkward, honestly, the whole group standing in the
Yeah.
library like this with all of these things and what you've been through, obviously with corpses over your shoulders, looks on your faces, I'm sure, that look relieved but also anxious. And so this man introduces himself and says, my name is Gentis. I remember you from long ago. Word was that you jumped from a ship in a storm and that you were long dead.
Wow.
Surprised to see
I'm
you.
surprised somebody
Yeah, he's right.
relayed that to you.
He's right. Poor Seharn. Yeah, his
Yeah,
corpse
he's right.
nods just a little bit, but Gentis says, "I see you look as if you're more worn and than rested. And
True.
what may I do for you?"
Have the rules changed in town? It seems far more restrictive than it was when we left as far as movement.
Yes, the coming veil will result in a lockdown for all of us. It is hours from now. They will ring the bells when the districts lock. It won't be long. I'm sure those passages are closing, and it will be several days before they reopen. You are welcome to
Can
stay
you?
here. You are welcome to stay with us, of course.
We'd like that.
We do have room. We can supply you with space to rest. Um,
That would be fabulous. We do have two of our compatriots that we need to bring raise, and we're wondering if it was possible at this temple
mm.
or another,
Certainly, some of the
and the
elders may consider it.
appropriate donation.
He looks around and he sees your coral chests sitting off in the corner there, and he looks you all over. And it doesn't look like he's doing it necessarily in a greedy way, but he's giving you all more of a closer look over now that you're proposing raising these dead. And his eyebrows settle again, and he says, "This is a serious matter. It's certainly beyond my advice, but I shall contact Lady Eliana and have her consult with you on the matter. She may be able to advise on possibilities, but I'm sorry to hear that
Can
of your
we
friends. How did they pass, if I may ask? What was their doing? Were they drowned in the
a,
storm?"
a beholder?
His face really changes.
We
You've seen
defeated
a
it,
lot.
but much has happened in the time. It was not a simple little trip to the bottom of the ocean
Trip to the bottom of the ocean.
and back out.
This is
We could tell stories later, but could we get perhaps just point us to some room?
Yes, of
to
course. Yes, of course.
Put all this.
If you'll follow me, of course, there's a place for all of you to stay, and he'll show you around the corner. There is, in fact, adjacent to where Nod is finding his beverages, there's an area with some simple quarters that just look like they're for worshippers of Ogma, and they're right around the corner from the library. There's multiple libraries in here. Each of the libraries have different themes. This particular library has a lot of lore of the inner sea in it, which is why you found yourselves here. One thing that he says to you, and he looks eager to help you after he gets you pointed to your rooms. He says, what did you learn? What have you learned?
That is a big question, my friend.
Surely there's some piece of knowledge you could share with me.
Strangely, some mind flayers can be trusted.
Mind flayers as well.
If your goals align.
Beholders and mind flayers, that's a different library we may need to refer to. This library has more of the known. What you speak of and where you've been is certainly of interest. To have returned with only 2 dead is perhaps a miracle. And if you want another miracle, I shall bring Lady Eliana here. And he will walk out, making haste. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to ask, for Gentis?
I guess if, just to make it simple, if he has any healing potions, holy water, or clerical scrolls that we could use? Or for sale, basically?
Yes. Again, healing services is Lady Eliana. I'm sure she will have some wonderful options for you. And he backs his way out of the room and heads down the hall. And basically, you guys have a few moments before a elven woman comes walking into the room wearing some robes of Ogma, excuse me. And she comes walking in, and she's actually holding a book in her hand and reading as she's walking. And
are we in the rooms that he showed us to?
You could
or
be,
are we
if you
still
want
in
to
the
be.
main library?
You can be wherever you want to be. I assumed that you knew where your beds were and that you were still congregating out here, but if you want to be huddled up in the bed area, that's fine too.
Only as far as I'd want to just dump our stuff and
Hey,
place our
be careful.
and
though.
place our companions
What stuff
in a
do you
safe
want to
spot.
stick? What stuff are you sticking in your room? What stuff are you leaving in the rooms?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. Let's just have the
Okay.
conversation out and
Yeah, I mean, it feels private enough.
Wherever.
It feels private enough.
Okay.
But she comes in and again looks like she's preoccupied reading, but her eyes are moving on the pages. She comes into the room and says, "Hello, I am Lady Eliana. I'm told by Gentis that you need some healing." And she closes her book and looks around at you now and sees, of course, the 2 bodies that lay over your shoulders. She says, and who is this that we have that has fallen? And I guess you guys can
Mithra,
decide.
a hero from the brain fart. He was participating in the
She was a Rashomai gladiator. That was
gladiator. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she fell, as did our cleric.
I am not much of a fan of sports, but even I have heard of Lady Immithra. Your other, I wonder about how long have they been deceased?
Several days, but we had a preservation spell upon them.
It's not been all that long for me.
I think at this point, she's trying to discern what your allegiance is to the Temple of Ogma, given that none of you are. I don't know that any of you are real truly followers of Ogma. I think we have Timora and Mistra and Valkor. I don't know that anyone is a follower necessarily of Ogma. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be the point in time in which you realize that their services wouldn't necessarily be free for you and that there would be some cost to this, is all I'm getting at. And she's sizing up what it is you're asking, and she said,
We were using your vast library to get us to where we ended up. And in the search for, the dwarven lost city and elven lost cities in the inner sea, we did find many things, but a beholder proved to be a bit more than we could survive. We did defeat it, but at great cost.
she's like trying to get a read on you as you're saying that, and really listening to what you're saying.
I'm a Corlon Larathian follower, more or less, but we were hoping you could, at least with the knowledge you might have, that you could point us to either we could make a donation to the temple or some service to the temple to get them raised, or point us to someone else who has equal skill.
I see.
We don't know the city that well, but this is where we left from, so we've returned here.
Ogma always welcomes those that seek knowledge, and certainly welcomes those that share it.
I have quite a few pages that we picked up from the towers underneath the sea and a few other places.
If you are willing to share your knowledge with our library and allow us to add it to our library, we will continue to give you access, of course, to it and the library, but we believe that the knowledge belongs here together, and we would love to research it with you to see what we could understand about it. This is certainly something that would put you in the favor of Ogma, potentially the favor of my elder, who we need to consult with about raising your friend.
What's Baden's reaction to this?
So Baden, I was going to actually have him interrupt you earlier. I think you might notice him biting his tongue a little bit. And he wants to be the one to make the discovery. He doesn't want someone else to read and figure it out. So he's being a little more close to the vest, but not deceptive. So when you offer that information, you might get a little bit of a cringe on his face, but he has a couple papers and things too that he's going to have to decide what he'll share versus what you're sharing. But again, I think he's not so selfish to realize this isn't a golden opportunity for him to learn what's really going on. His interest is piqued. He's not resisting. Does anybody else have any thoughts about that, about sharing your tomes and scripts and books and basically donating them to the library to put yourselves in good favor?
So Bart might actually
Did we
say
talk about the crown?
We haven't got there yet. We can get
Most of it.
there if you want to,
Yeah.
but
Okay, yeah, I'm
we have
having
to figure
internet
out what it
issues.
is.
no, we're not quite yet on the crown, but that's another topic for sure. But Bart, you were feeling what about the books? I'm sorry.
Oh, he might say something to Kurza a little bit, not exactly under his breath, that perhaps sharing what we've learned with the temple here might gain us some understanding of our tattoos and situation where others have failed.
There's that too. That's a good point.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah.
We might face
We might be able
Baden's
to learn
way a little
something.
bit. He might face Baden's way a little bit when he says that, but I guess you can't see his face. You're not sure if it's accusatory or just disappointment.
It can't hurt. Just I'm lying here dead, but yeah, getting him good with the church is not a bad idea. in the long term of things.
Yeah. I have, as far as papers go, what have I got written? Made our papers
Mm-hmm.
with the riddle, if that means anything to you, Jamie.
The Madar papers, yep, I got that. And then the riddle, there's also a riddle that was whispered to Bart that he shared with the group. It's a different riddle, but there's a lot of things, obviously, knowledge-wise, that you can benefit from mutually, I think is the proposition here, right? There are things that you'll be able
Yeah.
to discover, and by sharing and not making your information exclusive to you, it'll unlock that ability in addition to the fact that it'll give you good standing with the church so that they're just going to be more accepting
Oh,
to
sure.
what you're proposing in general. You do have some history here, very short, very brief history
Yeah.
here, but again, I think you're trusted at this point. So,
Because I've got, let's see, what else? The papers written, notes from the fire knives in Procampur. I haven't read those, or I forget what was written on them.
if you would, if you are, and she's definitely leading this, but she would would say that if you are willing to give your knowledge to the library, of course, it will help because I will need to speak to my elder and let him know the condition, and I will need to examine both of the bodies before we speak to him to
Yeah,
advise him.
I figured it'd be.
But of course,
It would be an amazing thing if it can be done. I realize that a sizable donation may be required.
that is certainly a different
We
matter. We will help determine the best course for you there. But at this point,
service could work too.
she says then, if it's all the same, then please let us archive your knowledge so that it may be added to the collection to fill in the blanks, because Ogma does not like blanks. And with that, she turns and says, "Archivist!" And like behind you in the corner of the library, it looks like for a second like the um, bookshelf moves, and suddenly you see this construct appear that's made out of books. You had seen something similar. You had seen a smaller one of these when you were here the last time in Procampur that was in coming through the area with all the candles, because there's like a hall here that's filled with candles, but this one is a much larger looking construct, and it is again made of books, and turns and walks off of the shelf area. It's been sitting behind you the whole time, and
Hmm.
says, "I will help." And he reaches out towards you. He says, "Knowledge is, of course, what we want." And he reaches his hands out towards you, gesturing that he would be the one to archive your knowledge. So,
Okay.
do you hand him anything?
Oh yeah, all the dwarven books. Dwarven.
And
And the maps, the map.
Do we have a map? I don't.
Nod has a map, but he is not relinquishing that one. That's
Didn't we?
between him and Renwick to get to his house or home.
No, didn't we have a map of the towers? Didn't we?
Oh
Maybe.
yeah, we probably made one. Yeah.
That's how we found the three of them. I'm sure there was a map. Am I imagining that?
You had a map. You had a map in some of the books. There was pages in the books that had maps in them as well. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should share that.
Yeah, I agree. All of that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just curious,
We
if I
can
looked
trust
through
Ogma.
the gem of seeing and were to gander at the construct in hers, what would I see? Or is there anything else
Yeah,
hiding?
I think that the construct, and you can see him now. I thought that you could see him for a second there, but now you should be able to see
Yeah.
him. He just looks like he's got a weave of conjuration magic swirling around him. Not that Nod would recognize conjuration magic, but for the others who can do detect magic, that's the way conjuration magic would appear. So you could tell that he's probably a construct of hers or someone else's in the temple, and that he would be programmed almost as a servant to perform certain tasks. Probably not much of in the way of combat. He might have some hit die to him, but he might be sturdy, but he's not necessarily dangerous or made for that battle. But other than that, she is, if you look at her, you could definitely see some aura with some of her, including her robe would have a magical glow to it, and the rest of the domes of reason, again, I think it's like a holy place. It's like a temple, and through the gem it would appear genuine.
And again, that was just curiosity. What would
Yeah.
happen if he was sitting there in the corner and pulled it?
I imagine
out
when
and-
he's having his drink, he would have pulled that thing out and yeah, started playing with that.
Yeah, I think I'll cough up all the information on the Dwarven City. I'm sure I do not necessarily have a whole lot from the tower.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure everybody else
Baden
does.
was gathering a lot of the Myth Nantar papers. So the Seychelles papers, the things that were Myth Nantar related, he has. Does anybody make any type of gesture to Baden about contributing his knowledge or anything? Say anything to him about this? Because he seems content to make this about you.
I say, show the stuff we found, Baden. We need these people's help.
You might realize this
Gregor,
is a big ask.
Gregor calls him out. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
How about a charisma check from Gregor? Let's see how convicted he sounds in this.
One sec. I just gotta pull up the character because I kept losing connect.
Oh, no worries.
Might have a bonus in this situation. He's emotionally invested.
Yeah, and he looks pleadingly at everybody
Yeah,
for
I'm fine with
support.
that. You definitely take a +1 here because you would be perturbed, not perturbed, but urgent. You'd have more sense of urgency than others.
Never hurts to ask, guys. Never hurt.
Yep.
I didn't add the one.
Yeah, still would have missed by a little bit. What do you think?
Oh yeah, fail.
Can I do a help by just saying, do you have anything that might?
I would say you could basically also attempt a charisma check to see, because it sounds like you're trying to convince Baden in this public setting.
Not necessarily that he has to cough up everything, but does he have something he could?
So you're gonna take
he
like a
could
more subtle.
contribute,
I
though.
like, yeah. So I like that as a charisma check. I think that's a good compromise solution kind of proposal here to Gregor demanding that he share and him being reluctant. Maybe you're gonna say there's something you could share as a.
Unless I get a +1.
I'll give
I
you
don't
the
know.
one as well.
Yeah.
It's all of your party member for sure. So you definitely hit it on the nail, and
Because I don't necessarily want him to give up everything, because then
neither
he'll
does
be really
he.
pissed off.
Or does he?
Exactly.
So
I know he
yeah.
doesn't.
So you're reading him well, and I think that that's a really good compromise solution. So he says, "Oh yes, of course there are some papers I think that deserve more attention. I'd love your input on." And again, a little bit more self-serving that he wants to fill in blanks that will help him solve parts of the bigger puzzle that he
Well,
has all the other information on. But you understand that he's
of
being
course.
close to the vest right now, but he does turn over a few papers at your bidding. Yes, of course, and he just hands them over, and he says,
Oh, I do have a tower map.
yeah, you do.
He
Yeah.
says what?
He says that I have others I may add later, of course. And you know, Lady Eliana does not seem to be like too worried about it or off put by it. It's more you all that I guess would be observing him. She doesn't know what he has or care really. She's just it's standard procedure for her to try to enhance the library and the knowledge that they have, of course, and wants to help you, but wants to see how much you want to be helped.
Yeah.
With the fact that you've given these papers over, the archivist, the construct, he'll grab them and say, "We thank you for your contribution." And he steps behind you back where he was, and you see him begin to file the books away. He's actually scanning the books and reading the books before he puts them each into a specific shelf, so you get a bearing on where your collection will be incorporated for the most part. And it's in the room, so it's close by your own rooms. And with that, Lady Eliana will say, "May I examine them?"
Why not? We've donated them. I don't see why they
she means
shouldn't
the
be.
and she means with that.
Oh, the bodies?
She means the bodies,
Yes,
which
yes.
I like that would be in question, to be honest. She says then that we will need to take them to the sanctum and lay them out to see their condition. before I
Yeah,
consult my elder.
of course.
Do you need anything else before we leave the library and your rooms?
I guess this is
Perhaps
where we ask her for the potions, scrolls, or holy water.
Ah, I see. You need some healing. How bad where's everyone at right now with health?
Not is
0.
missing a chunk. He's missing 10.
Is anyone else down other than Nod?
Jumping off the cliff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
How about Griff?
I'm down.
Griff, I'm not sure. Let's see, is Griff? He might be. I'm not 100% where Griff is at.
I'm assuming when he jumped off the cliff, he lost some, so unless he got healed.
Yeah, I'm double checking. He's down 6 right now, so he's not too bad. But yeah, he could
okay,
use a little
that's
bit.
relatively light.
And she says, we will provide healing for all. We will patch your wounds and bring you all back to health. But the other two, I make no promises. I must see their bodies.
We
So she
understand.
says, follow me, and begins to lead you through the domes, past the library that you're currently in, and through an area that's lit with candles to completely another section of the dome. 1 second, I'm gonna just need a minute to get this ready. All right.
Yeah, you might see Nod a little reluctant to get up and stash the wine bottle and having to chug the last sip of his.
I mean,
Having to get up.
you could always, I'm sure you could palm that wine bottle, but that's on you.
Oh yeah, no, it's somewhere in his bag somewhere.
All right.
Already.
She finally leads you to this altar area, sanctum as she calls it, that's lit with candles, another section of the dome where she says, please lay them one at a time. Who has been dead the least?
Seharn.
Let me see him first, please. It's more vital. And so with that, if you lay him on what do they call this? What are these called? These have a different name. It's not like a pedestal, it's something
Altar?
else. Yeah, I don't know. There's like a
Sacrifice altar.
yeah. Let's call it that. I like that. But yeah, you'll put him on the altar, and she'll slowly unwrap him from
Exactly.
the way that you've prepared him. I think you had casted gentle repose on him several days ago. He's been wrapped in what? In just a blanket or cloth for the most part.
Yeah,
And
whatever musty maggot infested thing they could find. They just threw
yeah.
me in there. Yeah, pretty good. That's fine.
And she begins to
That
kind of.
was my nice winter blanket.
I think
That
you
was your
notice.
nice winter blanket.
You notice is that she's taken aback for a moment that it is a sea elf, and she says, "This is a rare friend to have." And you say, "A beholder befell him."
Yes.
At this
One
point,
look
yeah,
and
at this point, Seharn's body, for those of you who wouldn't have seen it or remembered it, is like a grayish looking, almost like a in between, right where it's gonna begin to rot, and it's because of the death ray that he was hit with that it advanced its state. But you did preserve him, but however his condition is pretty challenging, and she says this to you, but just being
Gonna pour some water
pragmatic
on him.
about it.
Yeah, he's been dry too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking, sitting here thinking that, yeah, a little
It's just
dried out, probably.
all of those things are working against him
she
now.
got hit with the death ray. Yeah.
But I think Arvin, our elder, may be able to raise him, because this is an artificial effect, I believe. But he will tell us if it's possible. However, I can tell you it's the materials necessary to raise him will be costly, and the services, of course, will be required for Master Arvin's services. But I will advise him and recommend that we could possibly raise this person, this sea elf friend of yours.
Can you
Alright.
look at Immithra too? Can you look at Immithra? See if you can raise her.
Yeah, put her on the altar.
I will look at Immithra next. Yes, let's see her, please. And with that, she'll cover up Seharn and make room to put the two next to each other. And you can see now, for the first time, that she's unwrapping Immithra's body to take a look at its condition. And Immithra's been dead for a little while. She died in the
Lich,
tower.
right?
So I guess she'll ask that question of you and say, "What befell Lady Immithra?"
Oh yeah, and Mithra has a look of horror, like the rictus
Hmm.
of her death, like her face is contorted in horror. And Gregor says she fought
Lich.
and she succumbed to a poisonous cloud, I think it was.
I see.
And we some spiritual communication that may seem that the Lich may be trying to take the body even as it is now. So if we could, at the very least, separate the soul from if all else fails in raising her, can we separate her soul from the Lich and keep the Lich from retaining this body?
You have seen this Lich,
We slaughtered it.
and it slaughtered you.
Those amongst us here, yes, it did damage.
It seemed to be using that tower under the sea as a lair.
If I'm not mistaken, the Lich would indeed. Did you destroy the phylactery?
The what?
The phylactery.
Huh?
I don't know.
You
Bart,
don't
Bart
know.
starts
That's
Bart starts mumbling,
that's
Yes.
"Seek the cold flame, where the sun never rises, where the shadows move but time stands still.
Hmm.
A mirror of flesh, not made for faces, where blood runs backwards. Follow the chill."
I see. I've not yet reviewed this, but it sounds intriguing, as if your Lich lives on. He speaks from his spirit. He occupies her, and his phylactery not of. This is a much more problematic.
maybe Nod would nudge Griff at this point. I think he is the one holding the crown.
Okay. What would Griff, or what would Nod
Encourage him
want?
to display it. See if this is the phylactery that she's talking about. We know we found
Oh
it in his
yeah,
tower, and we know it is dangerous.
yeah, and
Yes, it
Griff
is
was
quite.
carrying it.
Yeah, he
It's going to be like the
For
ring boy.
those not prepared, it wants
Right.
you to touch it.
wants you to touch it. That gets her attention. That comment, Kurza. That then perhaps there is hope. Show me this, she will say. Griff did not provide me with anything that said he would not do so. I'm assuming if the party's comfortable with showing the crown, that's
In
accepted.
the hopes to get a Mithra back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
We have to we have to identify it, and if it's a phylactery like that, I don't necessarily want to touch it while I'm trying to identify it.
I would not risk it, friend, she says. I would not risk it at all.
That's what I was.
Bring it forth, and I shall determine. And there are a couple other sort of priests and apprentices and those studying and milling about she's able to summon to move the bodies temporarily. And she says, prepare the bodies for Arvin. And she says they will not be far, and that there's almost like a fountain on the side where they want to wash the bodies and prepare them for Lord Arvin to come look at them. Once the table is clear, Griff will step forward at the party's urging, and he will place the crown on the table before Eliana, and she will step forward, intrigued to take a closer look at it and say, "What do you know about it?"
Where was it?
It
It
will
was in the.
change. If you put it on, it will change your fate for sure.
I know a Mithra wore it before she died, and she was quite carried away with it. And it took a lot of persuasion to get her to take it off.
She wore it?
Quite.
Did any?
She did.
No, I don't
She
think she
did
did.
briefly.
Briefly.
She tried it on.
We found it in one of the towers in a tower under the sea.
I see.
We believe it's an ancient elven origin.
She actually like waves a little bit in and is looking at it pretty intensely for a few minutes as you're all standing here, and they're washing the bodies in the background behind you, preparing them. Gentis comes back into the room and he says, Lord Ivers will be here soon, and my lady, he says. So he is running back and forth for him or for her, and she says, Gentis, make sure no one else enters this chamber until we have dealt with this, and send Archivist. She says, yes, my lady, I will do so right now. And so he gets the room cleared of anyone and kind of shuts the way in. She's again taking this look at this. You guys can all mill about and look around in the room as she's doing that. Archivist comes back into this room. Let's see, is his token working? Yeah. And she turns to him and says, bring me the papers on liches. And she describes, she says a couple of things to him quickly that you don't really discern, but he seems to know what she's talking about, and quickly heads off and surprisingly returns extremely quickly with a pile of papers that she begins to look through. And some of them look like they're the papers that you may have turned over. So she's taking a closer look at that in the room before you. And as she's doing that, you hear bells start to ring outside the temple. And she looks up and says, the lock of the veil has begun. You'll be staying with us, friends. And that sort of confirms the fact that the city is going to be on lockdown until the veil leaves. And even with that, too, you would notice that the light in the windows is all clouded and dark outside now compared to when you got in. And a couple moments later, she goes to the door, and that this older man enters the room, and she's having a conversation with him in the doorway. And with that, you see her turn around eventually. They're looking at your direction, and she turns and walks back into the room in front of him and back to the side of the crown. And following her is this older man here who walks towards the crown and yourselves and is looking at the crown more than you. And then ultimately, when he gets within a few feet of the crown, he looks up at you all and makes eye contact with each of you and says, I've heard of your friends and how they have fallen. I may be able to offer assistance, but we have a complication. This crown and that gladiator are connected. It will require her raising will be a more complicated matter. Potentially possible, but perhaps more challenging than your sea elf friend. And Lady Eliana at that point says, in that case, friends, the church will require 12,000 gold in order to raise your sea elf friend. Much of this is necessary for the material components required to perform the ritual. Others, of course, will benefit the church and compensate Lord Arvin for his time and energy on the matter.
How much do we have? Everyone?
I know the two chests each have 5,000 each, so the two chests is 10,000. And how much are the chests worth in themselves?
To them, I don't know what they're worth to them. They would value them pretty significantly if you were offering them to them. I guess that would be
Let's
more.
see.
off
Let
that
me do an
2,000?
appraise. Quick.
Yeah, if you want to appraise them,
There's the.
the
There you go.
yeah, you would think that the combined value, like each of the chests, is probably 1,000 to 2,000 just for the chest itself. That's your guess is, Kurza. That definitely gets you up. That's your estimate,
So
right?
the
The
two
church,
chests plus.
yeah, the church will look at them and give you the same price right now because you're in good favor.
Yeah, I say we give them both chests and the money inside for good favor.
Okay, so that would be
Yeah.
basically right on the money as far as what they're asking, and
At least, yeah, at least, if not more.
they say
The coins themselves might be worth more too, based on their origin.
Lady Eliana says to you, she says, I want you to know that this is not a transaction for the church, and that we do not take this
It's a
matter to
donation.
be something of that sort. But of course, what we are trying to do is not easily done, and will require time and energy, which Lord Arvin will help with. And there is a chance that your friend does not return. There is a chance that your friend returns changed, and those are risks that, of course, I want you to be aware of before we make our attempt. And of course, Lord Arvin will try the best method for Seharn. So you guys basically are handing over the chests and the gold, and they are willing to accept that
I
as a
do
form of payment.
tell the two were in a djinn by the name of, and I give the name, I can't remember it offhand,
Yeah,
but
Nim. Yeah.
so that he could
Yeah.
protect their souls in time for the time being to slow the
Mm.
lich's grasp upon her.
You have seen many powerful creatures, and with the mention of the Djinn that you've seen that's granted you this spell, I think um, Arvin would say to Eliana, there is much more to these adventurers than they have beknownst to us. They have seen many things, liches and the sort, and he says, I will do my best to help your friend, and his body will decide if it wants to return. With that, we will begin the ritual, and he actually moves you. Let's see, he's going to have Griff move the crown, sort of the way that however Griff's been handling the crown, whatever he's been doing, he's just gonna have him remove it so that the body may be brought
Yeah.
forth, and the body of Seharn will be laid upon the table, and he will begin a attempt to essentially, just for mechanics wise, so you guys know, a raise dead spell on Seharn, because Seharn
Oh, okay.
meets the minimum requirements for that. So we'll see if that is effective or not. But let me find. I gotta find Seharn's token here. Where is he? You've been dead for two sessions now. We gotta get him back here.
Oh, really? So yeah, it was two
I
sessions
think
ago.
so,
But it
right?
was,
Yeah.
I think I died 2 sessions ago.
Yeah, that's true. You got to play the session. It was towards the end of that session, thankfully, but
Yeah, after we did the cliff diving, I
Yeah.
failed, but was successful. At least we damaged it. It
yeah,
worked.
yeah,
It wasn't. It didn't work gloriously though. But it worked. We got the job done.
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
We'll lay Seharn upon here for now, like this, and he will begin to cast this spell. There's several different. The process that he goes through to cast the spell, I think, is of interest to you. If, for those of you that are sticking around, I guess you're locked in the room. It's a matter of paying attention to it or not. But if you are, you'll see that he produces these small vials and has this oil that he sort of drips onto Saharn's body as he begins verbal incantation. And you feel like the air is getting heavy, and the candles start to flicker a little bit as he's casting this, and you're seeing Saharn's body lay there. Seharn, at this point, since you've been smashed with this death ray in your timeline of things, the world went black. But suddenly, wherever you've been floating in whatever time and space your spirit has been in, you've felt this breeze that started to blow and was pulling you and moving you around, it felt like. And eventually you started to see a light in the distance that you were able to move towards. And then you're in the water. You're actually
Yeah, it's the
underwater
primordial ocean.
swimming. And It's actually I think it's Valkyr calls it the Everlasting Sea, which I thought
Yeah.
was super cool. And so you find yourself swimming in this everlasting sea suddenly, being pulled towards light, and eventually the dark sea becomes a lighter sea, to where in front of you you see these two swirling gates as you take them to be. The one
Was it cool?
one on the left feels familiar, and the one on the right feels unfamiliar to you. And as you're being pushed this way through the bubbles and the current, you're suddenly stopped. Like you don't feel the current pushing you anymore, and it's placed you between these two portals, if you will, and given you a choice to return to your body or to find a new one. Is the overwhelming feeling that you have. What does the Seharn spirit decide?
So to go to where it's comfortable or to go to where it's uncomfortable. That's basically my choice. Or to
Well,
someplace
to
new.
yeah, so in terms of your spirit returning to your own body, or returning or going to a new one.
I'm not done yet. I feel like I need to go home. I'm not done yet. I'm not ready for a new adventure. I'm going to instinctively float towards the familiar, warm-looking
Okay.
hole.
All right. Yeah, so you make your way towards it. You feel that even once you've made the decision in your mind, that the current starts to pull you towards it. And as you're moving in through this, and you're realizing for a moment that this everlasting sea that you've just seen is now going to disappear, and you reach the portal, and it flashes, and your eyes flash
What?
before you, and you need to make a roll here, which will be, this is a, basically, what is this? System shock survival check. Your
Yeah,
constitution is 14, so I think you have an 88% chance of survival here, which I
already
like your
on the
odds.
button. Already on the
You
button.
got it, buddy.
Right
Go
there.
ahead and good luck. There we go. All right.
Large margin of success.
Very well done, and survived the passage through the port from your deity's everlasting sea, and he has granted you life again. You find yourself feeling something that you haven't felt in how long, you don't know, but a body to fit your spirit into, where you now can have some energy, some quick sort of moment where you're able to come to just to scan your environment and see where you are and what's happened. And but effect wise for you, Seharn, you'll lose 1 point of constitution permanently for having being raised, and you will suffer a -1 to all attack rolls, savings throws, and skill checks for the next 2 weeks. And however, you also are bedridden for 5 days. You're just don't you're depleted, absolutely depleted. No amount of healing potions, or it's just rest at this point to get you back to where you need to be. So you'll have minuses for 2 weeks. In 5 days, you'll be back to full health. The constitution loss is permanent, but you're back, and your eyes would open here in the room before everybody. So what's Seharn do as you're suddenly looking into this cathedral ceiling, laying on a stone altar in a strange temple? Maybe familiar.
I think he slowly just wakes up mumbling, I'm going home. I've come home. I've come home. And wake up little bewildered, looking at do I recognize, have I been here before?
You have never
I
been
don't
in
think
this
I was.
room.
I have never been
I'm
with
not
this.
sure that you went to the temple the last time you were in Procampur or not. I know, I just don't remember if you did. I know
No,
most of the group
was
had, but I don't remember if, I think you had joined after that. You had joined in the harbor, if
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
well, yeah. When they
So,
got waylaid in
so yeah,
the
this is
evening.
completely unfamiliar. Your party would, it might take a second actually, but you're seeing your party would be familiar.
Yeah, I'm just simply going to look bewildered and stunned and
And that
realize that I'm breathing and ask them, what happened? Where am I? Tell me what happened.
I'll walk up to him and
I'm a little
I guess
shocked.
lead him off to a chair so he can sit.
Is
You're
he-
back.
he-
And it's a temple of Agma in Procampur. So
You're safe now. You're safe
we're-
now.
I was lost.
you might
you just need
you might want to even know who slayed that damn beholder on.
I do. I remember. I remember dropping off the cliff. I remember now.
Yes, someone finally slayed it. I forget who put the final blow on the beholder. Was it Griff? I think it might have been, but I don't remember now.
It was great. I think Tim
Or
did it.
Bart,
Yeah.
for
Was
some
it
I think
Griff
reason.
or
so.
Bart?
I think it was Bart,
Yeah.
actually.
I
Yeah, I'll say it was Bart.
No,
think
it
it
was
was
Bart, I think.
Because you
Was
had
it?
the spiritual hammer. That's right. You dropped the
Oh,
spiritual
yeah.
hammer on him. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the attendants here will help you, Seharn, to and help you move around. But you feel weakened, but you feel this sense of this overwhelming sense, that familiar feeling that you went for, that it's like filling you up. You feel now like you're back with your party and in a place that you do know, even though the room you don't, and that they followed through on bringing you back. So it's a lot to take in, and physically, mentally, you're going to be given some time and help and space to recover. But anything else you want to say to the party?
Mithra. Is she safe?
She's next.
Yeah, I pray that you can help her.
We will try. We will try our best. And this is perhaps where things become more complicated. I fear that Seharn should be resting instead of present.
I'm too weak to help. I'm sorry.
So they will.
Physically, he's shaking. Think of somebody who's getting over the terrible dose of the flu, just pale and shaking and barely walk.
And with that, I think no one would let him fall. He's got several
No.
helping him, and there might be a sense of relief from the party to see him again. It's obviously the first time any of you would have likely seen someone raised from the dead, let alone someone you knew raised from the dead. So it's got to be just an absolutely overwhelming feeling. And then now your hope is high for Mithra. Seharn will go to rest. They will help him off and get him taken care of. He will be basically in a room closer to the Inum Sanctum where he will have people attending to him. He won't be in the same group of rooms that the rest of you are. And with that, they say, now, your other friend, I believe that her soul and the Lich's soul are connected through the crown. And being wearers of the crown has caused a conflict that we will introduce to her in the spirit form. Could come back on us depending on the outcome.
What would happen if we destroyed the crown? Is there a way to destroy it?
We
Question.
could not do such a thing here. I think it is more useful to us in its current form to draw the Lich away from her soul as we try to restore her. And he says, bring the crown forward, and motioning to Griff, who steps forward one last time and sets it on the altar before him. And he says, and should there be a complication, we may draw the Lich forth. Therefore,
Here?
yes,
Wow.
we will extract the Lich's form
It
from her
might be
body by
wise.
returning her life form to it.
Might be wise to give us a bless or start chanting before we try to bring her back.
These guys must be all.
My intention is not to bring the Lich back to form. By placing this crown upon Immithra and restoring her life, my teachings and our learning here tells me that his life form will reoccupy this crown. After
I tell
that,
you what,
go ahead.
Your Honor, if you can return Immithra to life, I will pledge my sword to you and your temple. If you can use a fighting man to guard something, or it means that much to me, and I believe now because I've never seen anything like this.
I understand, and thank you for your dedication to your friend and what you would do for the temple. But I think that the bigger problem will become when her body decides, her spirit decides what form it wants to take. So we will not know yet what will become of her, but we will take that risk together. The church is willing to do so, but it again has cost to it. And I think that's where Eliana would speak up and say to you that such a ritual is no small thing, friends. It will exceed in cost what it was for your friend. Do you have such a means?
Oh,
Don't know.
Pulls out empty pockets.
Everyone's rifling through the.
Well, I was hoping when she mentioned the donation for the first one that she implied that it was for both.
No, not that was not her intent. But I could see why you would want to hear it that way. I could see why.
What about these things? And I show Lady Eliana Immithra's sword and her ring and her other
So
ring.
let's do a little check on what we do have, just to get a ballpark of what the group would be willing
Because we could
to
always do.
put forward. Here's
here's an
your
idea.
treasury and loot, and that's the other thing I'll propose in a second. Is that there are other things you can do than just pay, but let's finish the exercise of seeing how much money you could even come up with in compensation before we rule that out.
I could always write an account of our journey so far, including all of the windings through the dwarven
I like that.
enclave.
Do
And
a charisma check on that, Kurza, because you're strumming at their heartstrings on that one. If you're gonna give them more knowledge,
Add this to them, Chris. Consider where we're going next. And there's possible potential treasure
right,
information that we could bring back to trade for payment
it's a
for
potential
so
part one.
just in glancing your stuff, you've got maybe a couple thousand
Where'd
in
it go?
gems and coin. I don't know though about like other items. You got like robes, daggers, stuff like that. Getting some back.
Yeah, there's a fair
Yeah, I
amount
hear
of
it.
stuff that we have. Let's see, where's
Sounds like
that?
it might be Adam's. Adam, we're getting a little bit of feedback from yours. There we go. Thanks.
I like it. Reminds me of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
He
I
sounds
don't.
like a
I think he might have
robot.
been. I think he might have been trying to speak, and it was making him sound like a robot, and it was garbled. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's still all garbled up. You sound robotic. Maybe you could
we can't understand you. Maybe try
double check.
reconnecting, yeah?
Yeah,
Sounds
it
like
sounds like
I
it's a
mean,
Discord thing. It's a Discord. Yeah.
we have a collection of gems, some of them not identified.
you never
Let's
know.
see.
You have a figurine of wondrous power
This
that
is
has
true too.
some
That's what I was
value.
getting at.
Yeah.
See, I have a
Some of the
two-handed sword
weeds.
+1/+2 versus magical
Two-handed, right? That's
from
right.
the undead paladin. Yeah.
That's right. +2. Yeah.
Then we have
Here, I might
prayer
put it.
papers and scrolls, some kind of variant of Underdark. So I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. All right. Let's kind of just bundle this all up. So for the Raven, it's a Raven figurine. They would give you the upper end of its estimated value in trade since it's a service, and they would
Hmm.
value that at 10,000 gold. You're trying
Oh,
to
okay.
reach, though, the thing is that the full cost of what they're trying to reach is 25,000 because this
Wow.
requires actually hold on. What is a Mithra's level 5th? Okay, it's not 25,000, it's 20,000. It's
Okay.
because there is one of the material components for this is a diamond worth 1,000 gold per hit dice of the target. So that's 5,000 gold to get a Mithra back. And then the service fee is on top of that. So that's,
Whatever happened to that magical dagger worth 5,000 gold?
I don't
You
know.
know,
Yeah.
just convince them that magical minotaurs are rare mystical creatures and highly valuable, then trade them not.
What about the ring of sustenance and the ring of fire resistance?
Oh
Do those have-
yeah, I was
All
just
right,
going to
so
check some stuff.
yeah,
20,000.
so it's minus 10,000 for the figurine, which is, I think, the absolute most valuable thing that you have. Otherwise, you have a lot
What
of
about the
gems.
two-handed sword?
I have no
Oh,
idea what the wand from the
that's
Minotaur
right.
is.
The two-handed
Yeah.
sword is... It's... Okay, the two-handed sword has some good value. It's about 5,000. So we'll say 5,000 for the sword.
Which
How
sword?
about the wand from the
So,
Minotaur? We don't know what that
yeah,
is, but
you don't know what that is.
I think you should hold on to that one.
okay.
You
And
still
we
have
look
some
inside
unfinished
of our
business
bio and info.
with those guys.
I think we look in our bio and info, and we have a good. We could probably make at least half of that from our gems, and we have a handful of gold inside of there too.
Yeah, so you basically we got to come up with 5,000
I've got
between
all I
all of
can do
that.
is give them,
So what?
I don't know.
Try the gems. If we don't know the value of them, then they're random, and you can really hit a jackpot on those little charts, man.
So what I would
Eight,
say is that with the remaining amount here, you would essentially hand over all your coinage, hand over all your gems. You're going to hand over the
owlbear
figurine
feathers,
of wondrous power.
umber Hulk eyes.
Those
How much is
things,
a platinum pieces per gold? 10.
10. So yeah, beyond that, if you're handing all of that over, we probably we're getting close. We're getting close. So I don't know what else you might have, or you may want to promise. I think it would occur to you that what Gregor is doing is offering his sword to the church to help offset the cost, and you get the sense that would be something you guys could all do, even in lieu of payment, right? It just depends on how much you want to dedicate the rest of your life to repaying this debt. But right now we're pretty close. I think between all the gems and gold that you have, I'd say you're 2,000 short, I think it is, maybe something around that.
How about
Oh,
this
What
ornate
about
dagger
a?
found in room 7A, the kitchen? And then we have 2 pounds of sea moss, 2 pounds of Virtus flower, arrowhead thorn, mender's weed.
Yeah.
Lucky Timoran coin? That's oddly light.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. I'll tell you what. You guys empty this. You empty this entire inventory and loot this whole treasury, and we'll wipe out that last bit, and the expense would be covered with donating these items to them. So pretty much in your inventory and loot, your money, your gems, your items would be cleared out. This isn't to touch anything on your
How about
character
how
sheets.
about the pearls?
Yeah, they would be taken.
So
Oh,
all of our personal money too, right? That we have in our sheets.
No, that's up to you
No.
all. There's in your shared amount. I'm assuming this is right. I don't know, but in your shared amount, it says you have 777 gold, and so that's the amount I'm saying that would be gone. So your character themselves might be carrying some other gold I don't know about. That's not. I'm not factoring that into this. Just your group
Just
inventory. This thing.
with the gems that we had identified in the gold, I have 2,500. So I mean, if we identified those other gems,
Yeah, but I'm
it's
just saying
plausible just with the gems that we have enough.
it is plausible. You would have to spend time identifying stuff and or appraising stuff I meant, but you could absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And they might be not worth much
But
at all. Hard
what
to
I'm
say.
saying is just in lieu of rolling all of that and going through every last thing, they're basically just saying just we'll accept what you have. You just hand over what you have and we'll do our best to bring Immithra back. And
I'd like to hold back 3 of the pearls, just because we have yet to identify certain things.
I'm fine with that. I
And
don't think they're going to have a problem with 3 pearls out of the group because of the need that the party still has to identify too. I think if you express that's all right. So I'm gonna clear this out
Yeah.
if everyone's okay with that, and we're gonna cut over
Sure.
to Immithra.
Okay, yeah. I'll leave it alone.
Okay. Yeah. If there's a different way you want to notate, but I just cleared it out just for
No, I'm
my own
gonna
record.
do the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We've resolved this. The party has made a large donation of random items that have been uncovered from the Tower of Veritas all the way to the Underdark and in between, and you've come to an agreement where they feel that you've given enough to help offset this. Arvin is not really thinking about that, but he has the body placed on the table and the crown placed on her head, and he begins to cast another ritual spell here where again you feel the air in the room getting heavy. This time though it feels like it's taking him longer to chant and go through his spell. It's got a more complicated casting to it. It's taking a little bit more time. I think my question at this point for the group is, how are you positioning yourselves? Is anybody taking any actions prior to the spell effect? What we're going to do is we'll take a mid-session break right here, and then we'll come back and we'll figure out where everybody's positioned, and we'll go through the casting and see what happens with the Mithra. So I'll let you guys think about what you want to do, how you want to position yourselves in here, and we'll come right back in about 5 minutes or so. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Be right back.
Praying for you.
What do you think he meant by position ourselves? Get ready for some trouble?
Do you want a protection from evil spell up? Would be my thinking.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
You know,
Yeah, that's why I was thinking we start with the bless or prayer as well first. That way
Yeah,
you don't have to cast it in combat. I don't think you can cast
exactly.
it in combat.
The prayer I think would probably work better because you can, as
Make
long
more
as
sense
you're,
too.
yeah, the prayer is instead of a finite time frame, as long as you keep praying, it will stay active. If I remember correctly.
So we can have Seharn pray, but no, I don't think he's in here anymore.
No, he left. He might be more of a danger than anything else.
It's going to be up to Bart.
Yeah. If Bart can do a prayer spell, protection from evil, any
We
of
also
that
do
would
have
probably
two other
work.
priests that might be able to do something. They might be able to cast something.
Yeah, but I think he's got something in mind for us. How hard was the Lich the first time? We may have to kill him again, is the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it worth hiding in some shit? Oh, this is a well-lit room, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's why I said protection from evil and a prayer spell active while the spell goes on would probably be a useful thing. Let's see. The 2E rules. Pathfinder. 2nd edition. There we go. Let's see what we get for resurrection. 7th level priest. Top level. Range touch. 1 creature. Casting time 1 full turn. The creature can have been dead up to 10 years per level of the priest casting the spell. That's Mithra would be immediately restored to full hit points and can perform strenuous activity.
Is that what he's doing, though? Resurrection, or is it a raise as well?
Yeah, it's going to have to be a resurrection, I think. That's why the extra costs. Somatic material components. Priest's religious symbol, holy water. Casting the spell makes it impossible for the priest to cast further spells or engage in combat until he has had 1 day of bed rest for each experience level or hit die of the creature brought back to life. The caster ages 3 years upon casting this spell.
That's why the cost is so significant. you're taking
Exactly.
life from him.
So I was thinking we want a prayer spell or a protection from evil from Bart while this is cast.
Doesn't hurt
Sounds like
at
a good
all.
plan.
Yep.
I can't really offer anything.
No worries. We'll
I've got 4 Sweetwater potions and a potion of water breathing, and that's about it.
those are good to have.
Somehow I don't think we're going to need that at
Maybe
this
not
point.
now, but yeah, they're always good to have.
Yeah. Did they want the Umber Hulk eyes and the owlbear feathers?
You can keep
Or
that
no?
stuff if that's useful to you. I don't think it was significant in
I have
cost.
no
I was
idea.
just
I
trying
was
to
planning on
go ahead and
I
hang on
was
to
just
that.
planning on unloading it.
If you're unloading it, then it's unloaded. I would say you basically it's
Okay.
whatever. I was only offering if it was important to Kurza to keep. But
No. Actually, I'll keep the owlbear feathers. I might be able to make a hat from them
okay.
or with them. That could be interesting. I'll need to find a hat maker, though.
And what is Kurza doing in the current situation? I know you can't bless this, so to speak, but how would you be preparing for the potential of a lich?
Thinking about the best way I could, because he's contemplating that they're going to have to kill it again.
Yeah, yeah.
From reading between the lines of what the high cleric, is saying, we may have to kill the lich again if this is successful.
Yeah, he's saying that there's a possible outcome that the lich presents itself. Yeah, that when her life force, if depending on what her life force decides to do, it may activate the lich, but there's also a chance that the lich transfers directly to the crown if she's wearing it when raised. So that's the risk we're taking. That's what we're going to leave up to the dice and to Immithra's spirit to decide. But I'm curious. So if you're in are you close to the altar, hiding, taking cover, anything like that? And that goes for
I'm not
everybody.
going to be close to the altar, but I'm not going to hide or cower,
Okay.
but probably be prepared for combat if need be.
Gregor's gonna
Yeah, go ahead.
Gregor's gonna hold her hand and hope that she comes back.
All right, we'll have the way back. How about Nod? Where's Nod gonna be positioned here? And
I guess he is going to be a step closer than others because he is probably more skeptical than anything else.
okay, it's fair.
He's seen magic and he's seen what he can do, but he's also seen the bad sides of the magic at this point. Especially with Veritas coming back up. He wants nothing to do with it.
It's never something to turn your back on, or yeah. Okay. How about
So,
Bart?
would the name of the lich be useful to him if need be?
It may be.
To
It
either
may
of
be.
the clerics?
Yeah, I think that it would be, and I guess that's a good point to bring up. That Arvin may ask that. Who is this lich you speak of?
Veridus.
Veritas. This is the soul of Veritas, and he'll close his eyes for a minute, and when he opens his eyes again, like he's recalling knowledge of him, and he's saying this is a nasty creature who seems to have
Very
gained
old one, I
power.
think.
How has he gained so much power to have been able to?
I believe it's in some of our notes we gave you. He was absorbing souls and life energy out of people using his tower.
Yes, there was a tower there with, how many was it? 20 sea elf elders gathered around a table, all being drained and feeding him.
Yeah, so he like the Aliana like motions that like the papers she had brought here from Archivist are laying open, and Arvin walks by them to glance upon those key points you're making and is nodding his head. He already had his own knowledge of Veridus, but is surprised by the power that he has now and the fact that he grew significantly in power. He says, I will read your notes and journals. I should hope to learn much more about him. But what befell the Seychelles? That is information that would be of even more greater interest.
I think we had a holy symbol of Seychelles
Yeah.
somewhere in our belongings
Yeah.
as well, if
And
that will help.
And I think, like, even at this point, too, let's have everyone make a wisdom check, please. All right. Yeah. And again, you're having this conversation as he's preparing things for the spell. There's, again, some pretty specific components that need to be gathered. This diamond, which is a large diamond, and there's some different oils and what do they call these? Unguents, holy water, things like that, that they need to prepare. So you're having this time to prep him and share your knowledge with him, and you've been doing that, and he's been scanning the books and things you've brought back. So he starts to fill in these pieces as well, and where you've been and what you've seen. And he says to you, he turns back and he says, the church could benefit greatly from your services. I would offer you now, before we interact with this lich, that one of our elders went missing not long ago in our own labyrinth that sits beneath Procampur. His name was Colin. I believe your friend knows of him, and he'll nod toward Griff, actually, who Griff does know Colin, or he's heard of, excuse me, Colin. He's heard of the whole story of Colin. That's in his part of his rumors and observations from the first time you guys came to Mithrantar, which is, or excuse me, Procampur, and one of the reasons why he found himself over here in the Temple District was because of that fact. And it occurs to Arvin that if you're as capable as, if you're so capable that you can reach the depths of the Underdark and return, perhaps finding Colin would be an easier task, but has proven difficult for those who have tried. But given your credentials, I may be able to persuade the powers that be to allow you the opportunity. And with that, I think that this is where some of you may have more knowledge of Procampur's regime, but there is a man in power here who has he's fortified a entry to the civilization, an ancient civilization that's underneath Procampur, that he has sealed off and made an exclusive kind of gateway to. And but it's because of its being a threat of things that may exit there. But there have been groups that he's chartered in the past to try to go and find Colin, who was an elder here at the Temple of Ogma, and they have not returned with him. And some have not returned at all, but no one has returned yet with him. And so I think he's offering a deal to you now, maybe before the Lich fight. But any thoughts on whether the party would even want to go into a completely different Underdark place? More or less, he's saying that you may not even be able to do it because he'd have to convince him, but there is an opportunity there, and it could be greatly rewarding.
Is this the same priest that you told us about, that we were told about the last time we were here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the trail's a little cold, but I'm willing to try if everyone...
It's nothing that he's making sound urgent, because he obviously would have to have some meetings to arrange it and just to even get it proposed. But he's testing your interest. He says, then may we dispose of this and move forward with other business when it is appropriate. I'm sorry, it just occurred to me to ask, but I will not assume that your next step will be towards this, as I'm sure you have unfinished business of your own. But I make this offer to you that should you have the will to do so, it could be lucrative. But nevertheless, he, as all of you are finding your position, and he's put the puzzle together, Eliana at this point is also set up as if she would be ready to cast a spell. She was assisting him more with the raised dead, but in this case you see he's doing a lot more of it himself, like the burden is on him fully. And as he begins to cast it, you do feel that heaviness in the air
Do we
again.
want to, before I will ask Bart, what kind of spells do you have? Protection from evil for a radius, or even a prayer spell, or something like that? I don't know that Adam's back yet. There he is.
Yeah, he's
Hey,
there.
this keeps dropping out on me here. Sorry, but I think you're probably asking me what I was casting or doing here too. I thought I heard.
Yeah, do you have
Yeah,
a prayer spell or
yeah.
a
Bart.
protection from evil, 15-foot radius or something?
I think Bart would actually be up behind Gregor, looking over. He's a little bit fascinated with this ritual and bringing someone back.
Do you have protection from evil though, or anything like that pre-ritual that you can cast or that you would want to cast?
He would be want to cast protection for you, and then maybe start after that's finished, just casting a prayer spell.
Okay, got it. All right, yeah. So you can add to the protection that's here by doing that and position yourself like you said. Anybody else making any other preparations before Arvin
Okay.
casts? All right, so he again has done all kinds of preparation and placed upon the altar Mithra's body with the crown upon it, and he begins his incantation. The candles flicker, the room and the sky outside actually get really dark at this point, as we cut over to Immithra, who Immithra has been, the way that Immithra was killed and where she transported to, it's she's been in the kind of altering planes of existence because of her flittering life force not having a direction to call it back. And now all of a sudden, Molly, you feel, or Mithra feels that pull of something that brings her back from darkness and sees this light approaching her in the distance. And as you're getting closer to it, the light itself, it becomes like this web of these sort of like almost like fibers of magic that are flowing through the air all around you that make you feel like Mistra is near, and magic, the origins of magic are revealing themselves in the weave in front of you. And with that, you're able to see these two lights that appear in these two different portals before you, that ultimately your pooling stops, and you feel this choice upon you, whereby you know that you'll either have to return to your prior life or take up a new one, is the calling, and it's a decision that only you get to make. I'll show you this on the layer. Within the vision, you see your old self, Immithra, in her past, and you feel the power of Immithra's spirit. And in the other, you feel this other familiar energy presenting itself to you. And within it, you see someone that looks familiar, but you're really not sure at first who it is. And so you're faced with this decision, and I'll let you talk through what Immithra's spirit would want to do here.
The one that I'm not sure who it is, I say, "Who are you? You look familiar." I see if I can talk to it.
Yeah, and it doesn't speak to you, but it turns a little bit, and you suddenly see the face, and you could tell that it's your brother.
Are you alive or are you dead? Am I dead?
And so I think that, make a wisdom check for Immithra.
One sec while it opens.
No problem. So the others in the room, you're feeling a little bit of vibration in the floor. The flickering of the candles is getting to a point that some of the candles are starting to splash wax and put themselves out, and others out. The windows
Jamie,
are
or
rattling. This would be a yeah, the roll for Mithra, you're a con 15. You'll
wait,
have to make a roll for that, but the roll for this is just wisdom check.
Yeah, so a straight roll, right? The modifiers? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You realize, Immithra, that your brother's dead.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So you're both dead, and that you have a choice to make about how you want to return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's been searching for him for all this time, and I think she would choose to follow him into the afterlife.
So she would go the path of what's his name again? I forgot. It's Shaujr, right? Was it
Shaujr, yeah.
Shaujr?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
her decision is to head towards the path of Shaujr.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the closest she's been, except for that glimpse that she caught in the tower. And so I'm sure that's where she would go.
I love it. All right, so this is where the dice will decide. You have a 91% chance of success, so you can roll however you'd like on your sheet or just roll percentile. And let's see what happens here. All right, so with that, as you're stepping and moving towards Shaujr, and you look over at the image of yourself that you're leaving behind, you get that overwhelming sense that you're leaving yourself behind completely, and Immithra standing there, and you suddenly notice that as the angle that you're now looking at as you're moving closer and you've made your choice, that you see behind her the face of Veridus floating behind her, and he was standing in a way where it looks like he was going to strike her. And as you float by, you see him look like in your direction and puts his arms down as if he'd been defeated. And then in the room, or yourself, you feel yourself start to take form again. You feel your soul attaching again to a body and some familiarity all of a sudden and being in the material plane. I'll say this, that as you're passing through this split second, you look and you see the face of the Djinni swirling around in the air around the gate that you did not go through, as if he was involved here somehow. And suddenly you just blink and your eyes are open, and you're back in a body, the form of a body, and you awaken in the room. For those of you who are in the room, Immithra's body and her form seem to begin to shake, and suddenly inside of the room, Veridus's image appear above the body of her and shriek suddenly as it gets consumed and pulled into the
Oh, wow.
and in its place, as it's laying there, the crown, Immithra's body has transformed into a barbarian looking man with a kind of unruly looking beard and mane of hair, as if he had been traveling for a long time and in a wild place when he passed, right? And this is the way he looked in his passing, thin but strong, and your eyes would open at that point, and you would see again, maybe you've been in a city before, I don't know. This is territory for you, Molly, to decide what he would have how he would react to this. What are your thoughts as
This is a long way from home. It's a big, wide world. I don't know that he's been here for sure.
yeah, not here, but he would recognize he's in some type of cathedral
Yeah.
and awaken and see this group of just complete strangers before you. As you awaken, they seem to be, and again, you're completely weakened. I don't think that piecing together where you are is even something you're too worried about right now, beyond just basic understanding that you're not in more danger, but you don't feel any threat of danger, and everyone else would see. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
He has like ropey scars, like where he's been whipped, like really thick scars, and he's got like glass shoved underneath his fingernails, like he'd been tortured really badly. Because that's how we saw him, I believe, being
Yeah,
tortured.
that's right. He had been tortured, and he was thin. He was working and enslaved, and I think that you knew that was somewhere near the Anarok. I forget specifically now, but I know there was a town or city region to say that he was in. So those are things I'll fill in. We can fill in those blanks and
Yeah, that sounds good.
add them to the art, and I'll need to get some artwork. I'll let you pick the artwork, but I just kind of went with something that was meant to be a little bit unrecognizable for now.
Yeah, no, that works. That's good.
So for the others, you no longer see a Mithra. You see this barbarian who leans up, and what do you say at this point?
I don't have Immithra's memories, right?
I'll,
No.
I'll tell you what, I
No.
think that you should have a Mithra's memories to some extent. If you were watching the other portal as you were going towards this one, you would almost get like this flash of things that she had been through, right? That's what you were seeing and sensing.
Yeah. I look up and I look at me like, you're friends of my sister's, aren't you? She was traveling with you.
Yeah.
I'll just go like in a questioning tone, like, and point at her. Immithra?
No, I'm Shaujr.
Mhm.
Mithra is my sister.
I want a refund.
Yeah. So she has been she was reincarnated as her brother, is what basically that happened. The magic provided that option to her, and so the dice allowed it. And in this case, if because you didn't return to your prior life, you took on a new life, that prevented the interaction with the lich as well, and trapped it in the form of the phylactery, which is the crown, which the church will take, or the temple will take possession of, with the intent of destroying, but for now, not intent on doing that here. They want to give you rest. I think the way this will work, you have already rolled up this character, Molly,
I have not. I
or
have
no?
not.
Okay.
Nope. I rolled the stats, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't.
that's all right. So you can continue to use a Mithra in that regard for the most part, as far as the character sheet, until you change things. Or do we have a separate character sheet in there for you?
I think I need a new one
Okay, let me
because I
make
have.
sure.
Yeah, I have the backup, and
Yeah, this thing.
you said it would be like half her experience points. Is that what?
How do you spell his name again?
Shau.
JR.
Shogar?
In this case, let me hold on a second before we get his XP. Let me get your token and everything. And you should be able to see it and control it now.
This is a little weird turn of events.
It
Yeah,
is.
it really
But
is.
what I like about it is that Imithra's arc was always to find out what had happened to her brother, and now she knows.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I know that she's not? She's no longer being tortured by the lich.
Yes. Yeah. You would know that because your soul was trapped there longer than hers, that she's just floating around in this area that kind of exists between the planes, and it's just darkness and nothingness until suddenly you feel this pull back where everything just rapidly just comes flying back in your head, and you have to make this sudden decision about your life. And yeah, you got that sense that she's now safely floating there. She's not being cursed any longer, as long as the soul of the lich remains in the crown and that it's
Phylactery.
destroyed correctly. Yeah.
I pray that she finds her way to the happy hunting grounds.
I think that's a good point.
And
Yeah, I think everybody
yeah,
would probably say a prayer at this point for Immithra, that she gave her life for his, and it would be apparent to the rest of you. I know when she was in the tower, she looked through the water in the well where she could see
mm-hmm.
a vision of him, and others, you would have seen that too. You knew that she, at the end of the day, wanted to find him, and it brought him back to life, gave her life for his. Definitely everyone would be moved by that, and say the even Arvin and Eliana would say some prayers for Mithra to continue to protect her. And I wonder if you would say anything about the Jinni, or the Jinn that you saw swirling about as well, because that would give the others maybe some comfort that he was present.
Yeah. So Immithra didn't see the djinn because she was dead, right? But I saw
That's true.
as a
That's true.
Mithra.
Yeah.
I saw the Jinn when I was coming back, right? Reincarnating. So, yeah, I would at some point I would mention what it was like of the forms I saw, the lich behind Immithra, and then myself, and then waking up as myself, and yeah.
Yeah. And the party, the others would piece together that you did make a loose agreement with him that you may help one another, and he's helped you. So I think you might owe him one in the count of things at this point, because he did help in that interaction as well. He would have been even more involved too had she chosen the other. There were two outcomes that were pre-planned, so it just depended on what Molly selected, and then that was going to unlock it. So in this case,
I love it.
you got you got rid of all your excess inventory. You've got yourselves in with the temple. You have now your situation with Shaujr is that you have to have also 5 days of recovery time. You will have -1 to all attacks, savings throws, and skill checks for 4 weeks. It's a little longer. It's twice as long for you because you were. Let me see. Actually, let me double check something. Hold on. No, I take that back. That's for resurrection. In this case, that would have been if you had gone through the other portal. In this case, you just come back in your normal form. There's no constitution penalty. That's it. We'll get you your
Nice.
token. Let me for now. Let's see. What can we use for your token? Do we have? What are your thoughts, Molly, on how you want to handle it, especially like I know given like Gregor too, because you've been playing Gregor, and I don't want to force you to decide, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Gregor's going to stay at the temple, like he said he would, and I'll continue on with Actually, you wrote it as Shaujr. I like that even better than Shaujr. That sounds like
Okay.
such a So Shaujr. Yeah, you can use that art that you
Okay.
found, or yeah.
I'll find one then that's a little
If I
bit
find
more
another
like,
one,
yeah.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Because I just want to have something on the screen so people know that you're here for now. So I'm gonna put at least the image that I had, because I don't have the full image right now. I gotta find that.
Was Baden in the room?
That was, oh, you know what? That's what I forgot to tell you guys, that the wisdom check that you guys made earlier before the spell was cast, those of you that passed it noticed that Baden was missing. The others didn't notice he was missing. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. I got distracted with Afterlife stuff. But let's see. Oops,
What
that's not it.
included coop?
There's the image there. We'll get the rest of Shaujr attached to this once you're whole again.
Get a body later, huh?
This might be reflective
Yeah.
of the fact that you're only about 10% really in strength right now anyway, and you're going to be retiring to a room similar to what Seharn has done. And for the rest of the party now, you've seen this transformation. You've reincarnated Immithra, and you've raised Seharn, who are now bedridden and recovering, but there. And you find yourselves locked in to the Domes of Reason and can explore. You can try to interact with any of the people that are in here. There's not a lot, but there are some. And if there's any other preparation, studying, things that you want to be doing, you might be doing that at this point. So I'll open it up to the others who witnessed all of this and who now might want to get into some other things. So I'll move you back to the library screen, and we'll take up that. Anybody have any sort of curiosities or other thoughts on what they would be doing in, because basically what we'll do is we'll hand wave some of this, unless you all want to go off and try to force the issue of getting in and out of the building and in and out of the district. That's up to you, but we'll assume, if not, that you'll have a lot of time, several days here, because it's going to take each of them 5 days to recover, that you can mill about, learn, and ask questions, those types of things. I'm also going to have you guys make a Frain's morale check, okay? Came in pretty low here, and you guys just gave away all the money that he's been carrying. And I think he's like highly annoyed right now, and he's locked in here too, and that would be noticeable to you all. So you've got that to amend, and whether or not you're going to continue to employ him or be able to employ him. But right now, it looks like he doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to do anything with you all because he's just been through hell and back and handed it all over. But other than that, or even that, is there anything else their character wants to be doing?
Yeah, again, Nod would be interested in acquiring any potions or anything else they have like that while we're here for the few days or the week. He might be able to ask them to scribe a couple of cure light wounds onto some scrolls.
Yeah, as far as if you're just looking for potions, Gentis will take you to an area where you can buy from their alchemy shop, and they have a pretty good variety of potions. So if you're looking for healing, speed, flying, fire resistance, giant strength, what else do they have? Fire breath.
Probably the healing, maybe the fire resistance.
Okay,
How much is he asking for?
healing potions would be 400. And then what was the other one? Fire resistance was 500. So I don't know what kind of money are in your pockets, but those are significant, I know, but those are the rates
Yeah,
here.
not a little amount.
That goes for anyone else. If you wanted to pick up speed, there's potion of speed, potion of flying, potion of fire resistance, potion of heroism, potion of giant strength. So those would be available to all of you. If you want to try to, what I think you might notice is everyone kind of checking this out, or for those of you who are, make a wisdom check, and I'll give you some other options here.
A wisdom check for what again?
This is just to
Selection?
observe the potion stuff that you're buying. So you got to notice that there's, at least Bart and Kurza notice that there is another area where they sell, looks like they're selling equipment, and it's adjacent to this area, and you guys wander over there, and long swords and daggers and shields, plate mails, bows, maces, cloaks, bracers, and then the two of you also walk past that and notice an area where they have rings and wands and staves and ropes and all kinds of other goodies that are laying about that look like they are also for sale. So
No, now that we can't afford anything.
you can't afford
Yeah.
it, but
That's right.
you can still window shop.
Window
Um,
shopping. There you go.
yeah.
You can
Are you?
drool over them. That's it.
Yeah.
But you can always
What?
go into debt in other ways because they are offering you this opportunity, right? So I think it might occur to you that would be another possibility there, working in exchange for items and stuff like that. But they have quite a bit here and several people that are attending to all of it and making and crafting and storing and all of that. So there's a pretty wide selection of rings, staves, wands, things like that, that for anyone who's taking the time, you can tell is all magical.
Too bad
Is
we're
there
not a
any leather
party of rogues.
But they have potions as well, and having scrolls made here is even cheaper than potions. So if you want to have scrolls made, there are cheaper options there for certain scrolls. But
Do
What
they have any leather armor?
let me look, see if they have leather. I don't think they had leather.
Leather
No,
armor that would fit.
no, no leather at all, actually. They do have
what
other,
what is the guy's name who doesn't want to work for us anymore?
I think it's like a Frayne or something like
Not
that.
Qualia?
Or what's his name?
Okay.
Iliac, that's it, Iliac. I'm sorry, I said a
What's
Frayne.
Uh,
Iliac? What say we just throw a little bit of cash his way and send him on his way? Because
Yeah,
I can.
sounds fair.
Gregor had 150 that Immithra gave him when we found the treasure room. So Gregor will give that up to him.
Because I've got another 200
Ilian.
I can give him for the. Yeah, I'll give him 200 as well
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think let me give him
for
a reaction check to this real quick because
his
he's
hever for his help.
Nod's just not looking at the over 5,000 gold,
Wow, I think.
twiddling his thumbs.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Somebody keep an eye on the Minotaur.
So how much gold did you give him? I'm sorry, in total, guys. Was it
350.
350? Okay. Yeah, I think like his reaction is he recognizes that you want to help him, but he knows he's locked in here with you, and he's not like looking to run off, but he's gonna think about it. And I think you've given him something to think about, and so you sense that he's not as upset, but he's still. I'm gonna think about it if I want to finish or keep working with you guys, because this is crazy. And he's just not.
Well, we understand either way.
Yeah, I think you took him to some places he never expected when he left that ship, and so he's gonna be a tough one to convince. But he's not. He doesn't have any animosity, overwhelming animosity now, so that's helpful. But so he's doing his thing.
And
Anyone else that's
Shaujr, while he's recovering, he's not as smart as Immithra, but he can read. So he likes mythology, so he's going to look for some text in the library that are at his level that he can read about mythology. And in his other spare time, he probably would try and win. He likes to gamble, so he would probably try and win some of that money that he just saw Elian get. See if he could get him in a game of dice or something.
okay? Nice. Yeah, I think who else? What about Bart? What would Bart be up to during these 5 days at least? The veil will last typically. Sorry, the veil will usually last between 7 to 10 days, and so 5 of those days are just recuperation, but you'll probably be here a few days longer just until they unlock the districts. What was Bart thinking he would be getting into?
Bart would be maybe talking to our raised companions and asking about what they saw in the beyond out there, if they remembered anything, if they saw any visage of Leira, because he's been looking for Leira in any place he can. And he might also want to quiz the priest about the reincarnation spell, and if there's anything he can research around here in books about that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that if Bart spends some time praying with the raised heroes, number one, they don't quite have the energy to talk much about what they've done and seen. As time goes on after they've been raised, you can see how depleted they become and how much rest they really need. But as you stand by and pray with them, and you start to get some visions in your mind of, again, the feeling of Veritas, but this time the feeling is that he is in a cage and he is not happy, but he is not able to do much about it. And so you feel like her soul is, in your mind, safe from his torment. And I think that would put Bart at ease, because he's the one that's seen most of this and known the threat that was there. Anything else that anyone else is getting into in the library days that we'll call it?
Yeah, couple of things. I've got 4 Sweetwater potions. Can I trade those for healing potions?
Let's see how much.
And if so, how many?
I like the effort, man. I like the effort.
Let's see. So they would be 300 each.
Okay, so that's 1,200.
Yeah, in trade in. So if you want to trade in and get other potions, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So your healings were 400, so you could get 3 of those, or you could get 2 of those and something else. Actually, that's the cheapest potion there is. So you'd have to.
I'll do that.
3 potions of healing. Okay.
Or I may get 2 and something else.
I'll
have to look through the potion book to see.
Here, I'll give you the list again.
Because I also need a short bow.
Short bow is, let's see, that sounds very specific. No, they don't have a short bow here. Not magical one anyway. If you just need a regular short bow.
Non-magical?
Yes.
I was thinking non-magical.
Yes, I'm talking about
just
the
a short
bow that's here. But yeah, they do have regular goods. They have that.
Oh, yeah, because that's always. And then I want to train to add scout as one of my levels and multi-class as a scout mage.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a great point, and that's what I wanted to offer to everybody here is you could also during these days in lockdown do training for non-weapon proficiencies or language training. So those are all unlocked right now in this situation. I think several of you have gone up levels, and I don't know that you've caught up on your weapon proficiencies or non-weapon proficiencies. If you haven't, this is the place to train, and you'd be able to do with minimal cost to you. You're trapped here anyway, so it's a way you could benefit your character, and we could narratively work that in. You can definitely do that training here, Chris, and let's see. So you want to do scout, and you're going to change like your intent, and just for everyone else's knowledge, your intent is to change to a multi-class at a certain point here.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you waiting to hit the next level and then you're gonna switch to multi-class, or are you wanting to start that? What is your timing on when you're wanting to?
I'm thinking might as well start it now.
All right. So this might be a time when you see Kurza changing in terms of his. Maybe after spending so much time, you've just decided that you wanted to learn these things. Like how would you explain it to the others? Like, what direction are you trying to go with your skills?
Our gnomish friend plus Nod himself and their ability to move quietly in the Underdark. I need to work upon that myself. To mention, sometimes I don't have spells left, or maybe it's too noisy to use spells, whereas a bow or some other weapon might be more useful, and I might actually be able to hit something occasionally, offhand.
I got it. Yeah, no,
And
that's
then,
good.
because that would also get me the ability for alertness, direction sense, track, and the Bowyer Fletcher skill. I could drop seamanship or something maybe, or
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other option is you can retrain. So if you've got non-weapon proficiencies, you want to move towards other things. I mean, I typically am giving you guys benefits for the fact when you're using actual non-weapon proficiencies versus skill checks. So definitely worth making sure you round out and get yourself your character skills you like and that you think are useful. But here's the list of potions and the general value that they're associating with them, so you can think about what you want to do there. But
Are you going rogue, Kurza? Is that what I gathered from that? No,
Yeah, it is a subclass of rogue, actually. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't get the.
oh, it cut out.
I don't have any fox of any kind.
There we go.
Those aren't skills I'd pick up. It's more of the move silently, hide in shadows, climbing, and a few others, rather than the more thievery sided part of the rogue.
got it. There was that elven chain that you gave to Immithra, and I'm not going to wear elf armor. He snorts. That might help. That might help you
Oh yeah, that's true. Absolutely, that could be useful.
because I believe elven chains is good for a thief.
Yeah,
Is anyone else
and the
thinking of
longbow,
trading in stuff?
the bow skill elf that matches too. What's that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. I was wondering if anyone else was doing any other trading or buying in this area.
Boots, shields, or do they offer
Let's
identify
see.
surfaces? Will they identify items?
Yeah, they can do that for a cost. It might be cheaper for Kurza to do it, but that's a time thing too. They do have boots of speed.
Kurza or Baden.
Boots of speed are 10,000 gold.
Oof.
And
Oh,
that's giving you a break. That's giving you an insider's discount. That's loyalty
Yeah.
reward program level pricing. But yeah, it starts to get crazy. But again, money can be made. There's ways to make money. You guys have found some things also. Like you've got gold laying around in the Underdark and other things too. If you needed to find money, that hasn't been what's motivated you thus far, but you've found your way upon a lot. But yeah, anyone else doing any other
One
activities?
last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kurza has a skill, so I was thinking I could to draw a picture of Immithra Nim, maybe, and some of the others that the Beholder and the Mind Flayer that we have had names for. But I thought I'd start with the Mithra and then maybe the Mind Flayer and just draw some pictures.
Was there anything else that needed to be identified that you would be working on before that?
I
Also,
was going to ask everybody if there was anything left that we didn't give away
because you've
that
got
still needed to
3
be
pearls.
identified. Yeah, I can identify 5
Yeah.
items. So,
Say I have 2 on my person that need to be identified: a cloak from the wizard Minotaur and the long sword from a different Minotaur.
okay, pop it into chat and then, because I have 1 item, I think, too, that needs to be identified. Does anybody
was
else
the
have anything that needs to be identified?
Seharn has still never collected a
I'll double
magical
check
item.
Griff and see if he had anything. I don't recall.
Really? Seharn still doesn't have a magical item.
No, other than the picked up longsword. Remember that? I still got one of those +1 longswords.
Griff has a leather armor that's unknown.
Okay. Leather armor,
Yeah.
Griff. So that gives us 3, 4.
He also has a hand axe.
1 more item.
He has a hand axe.
Magical hand axe? Okay. Then there we go. There's our 5 items.
Nice.
I can start rolling here. A D100, the cloak magical from the wizard Minotaur. Identified.
I forget, what is your number? I know it's really high, but I was just curious.
50%.
Okay.
10% per
Better.
level.
All right.
It's a 50-50 shot.
That's better than when we started, man.
Oh,
You
heck
have to
yeah.
roll under or above.
Under.
So
Yeah.
what does that identify?
Yeah, hold on. Making sure I'm double checking. Let's see.
Adam, did you have
Oh,
anything
okay.
you needed
Yeah.
identified?
I don't
It's
think so. I think the only thing I had really that I probably need to get some notes on is the harmonic crystal, but I think we had that. It's called harmonic crystal in my inventory, so
Oh,
I think
okay.
I need to jot down
That
some
was
notes
from the
about it.
shadow room whenever we cleared the shadows.
you know,
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I?
We used a fishnet to wipe away the drawing on the floor and then picked up the harmonic crystal from there, I believe.
I think I'm gonna
Yeah, I guess maybe that isn't identity. I just have in parentheses around it after it magical, so that maybe is something that's not known
Okay.
yet exactly what it is.
here's the cloak.
Oh nope, I've got it. I can cast sleep with it once per day.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I did have that
Thick
right.
fur-lined cloak enhances the wearer's physical power. Made from the hide of a dire bull and grants the wearer a +4 bonus to strength while worn. Oh my.
Good God, it's pretty nasty. Yeah. So that item,
Bull strength as a free spell. Resistance to knockback. And cannot be easily. Prevents the wearer from being easily pushed or shoved. That's pretty impressive.
is
Nod has quite
yeah,
the item.
that seems useful. I think that would put Nod into some kind of giant range on strength. Hard to
Partial
move.
god
He has
strength,
It's,
demigod
24.
strength at
yeah, 24.
22. Oh,
Yeah, weight
geez.
allowance is 1, 2, 3, 5. So I technically wouldn't have had any trouble with those chests carrying them around and
Yeah,
everything.
it's just more
Nope.
about just the bulk
The
of it.
mental thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the weight.
Wow,
Um,
that's amazing.
Just curious. Just throwing this out there. Let's just see what happens if I hit.
This is a tremendous get in your face melee item right there.
it is. It makes
Eh,
it makes him pretty formidable. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's plus 12.
I
It's plus
mean,
12 damage. So you're
the
literally doing
deities,
minimum of 13 damage just hitting anything. You're the lowest you can hit
yeah,
for is 13. Yeah.
because when you read the deities and demigods book,
Mhm.
the gods in there have strengths of maxing out at like
30, I
24,
think.
25.
I thought it was like the giants are in the 20s, in the mid 20s, and then the demigods start.
The hill
in,
giants. I
That
want to say
could
hill
be.
giants is 20.
let's see.
Storm giant,
Yeah.
like 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hill giants 20. Frost is, I want to say 9 or 21. Fire is 22.
Yeah. Impressive.
Somewhere.
Yeah, he's in the frost giant. He's in the frost to fire giant strength range right now. Yeah, gods are in the 30s. Yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
It's way up,
pretty crazy.
but still 24 strength is
He's got the same
phenomenal.
strength as a pit fiend.
Unless we encounter some kind of a beast or a 12-foot tall humanoid, you're going to be the strongest thing anywhere you go.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yep.
dragons. The dragon strength begins at 24. It's 24
Oof.
to 28. He's right in that range.
Arm wrestle a dragon. There
Yeah.
you go.
As long as it's a young dragon, you could beat it. But
If we
Nice
run
one
into
when
a
we come
boulet,
across.
it's all yours, man.
oh yeah, it's like a
You
toy.
got
Yeah,
this.
just pick him up, throw him.
Yep. You're hard to
Um,
push around. It'd be a perfect opponent for a boulet.
Do you want to try the
Okay, so
longsword
let's go with
next?
the long. Yep.
Okay.
Ooh,
Oh,
One.
that one is meant.
that's
He
got to
got
be a
roll.
Holy
crit.
Oh, that's
mackerel.
good. Yeah, that's
That's
like a
a
crit.
crit.
Let's see what.
Yeah.
What is this one? So this was a
Named
longsword from the Minotaur. Okay.
Minotaur.
Not
The
only
one
did
that we fought with the mage with
Yeah.
Minotaur.
Yeah, it was the one that they ended up.
He tried to stick me with that.
He
I
did.
think he was held, and I think Kurz stuck him with it.
Probably the only reason I managed to hit him was because it was magical.
right, you picked up his fallen sword and threw it at him, didn't you?
No,
Was
I-
that the one?
I actually wrestled it out of his hand and then
Ah.
stabbed him with it and
Yeah.
then tried to throw it away and dropped it.
This was just a longsword, right? Just a longsword, not a two-handed. Okay.
I think he was wielding it two-handed, but it
Yeah,
is just a
Yeah.
longsword.
Okay.
I thought it was a two-handed sword, really.
I think it was. Yeah.
It,
If this was
In
from the
not
big
reality,
guy, now you
Yeah.
can use it. You can use it as a one-handed because you're a large creature. But for anyone else, they would have to use it as a two-handed. So just for purposes of me identifying it, I was just trying to double check that because everything is referred to. A two-handed weapon for medium size is how they refer to stuff. So
it's a thing we do wrong in role-playing games. But a long sword is not really a one-handed weapon.
so
It's like a hand and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a +2 longsword, and it has in addition to it a thing called bloodlust that once per day you can activate bloodlust, and it will give you it will double your attack rolls and damage rolls for 1 round. I'll create
A
the handout for that.
bit like haste.
See.
Doubles your attack and damage.
Oof.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's nice. For how
No
long?
doubt.
One
One
attack,
round?
one attack once per day.
For the same guy that has the strength 24.
That's how you're
right.
doubling
So at that
damage.
point, minimum
Yeah.
damage is 26.
You're not really supposed to double the bonuses.
Yeah, but
This is
still.
something you do. It's just something we do because it's cool. I get a
Let's
+9.
try
Oh,
Here's the I'll
The next
the
one would
leather
be
armor.
leather on a roll.
there's that one.
Wow.
Okay, so a 9, yeah, you're
You're
rolling
making
well.
good rolls, yeah.
This is leather armor.
Yeah,
This is
really.
Griff's leather armor. Is that where you're
Yep.
at? Okay. I already have that one on my list somewhere.
Oh, wow. The hilt is the hide of a slain minotaur.
So Griff's armor is, what is this called? It's +1 and it is armor of endurance. So it gives the wearer, what is this? Plus to constitution while being worn. +1 to constitution while being worn. I'll add that into the. I'm putting this in the party notes for right now, but I think I might need to. I'm gonna move these into your actual characters folder once we know who's carrying what. I think Nod, you're carrying the longsword, right? You're the only one that can use these things, as far as I know. The cloak.
Yeah, the longsword and the cloak.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm moving those into your character folder now, and then I'm gonna do Griff's armor here, which I think also came from the same place.
Wow, I may actually be able to use a longsword.
As a
But no.
thief, not sure as a mage.
But as a scout,
Yeah, that's what I'm not. I'm less familiar with multi-classing.
I get
Sorry.
a wider range of stuff, but still. Weird.
So are you
Yeah, I
like,
think you take the benefits from each one.
Yeah.
Your best stat co, your best hit dice, your best.
Yep.
Maybe as you level, whichever one you level as, you get that hit dice.
Yeah.
So I'll get full hit points from each one, but I still have to level up in each before I get benefits added.
I see. And so you're, what are you now? Like, what are your levels? Yeah.
5 and 1.
Okay. That makes sense.
And so I guess let's go with the.
I think the leather armor, it should reduce the AC. So instead of 8, it should be 7.
Here's the one for the hand axe.
Oh yeah. I don't know why it says that.
Another success.
For real, he's on a roll. Wait, he got
Yeah,
every
this is
single one,
weird.
right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1
4
more.
for 4 so far.
This is what? The hand axe?
Griff's hand axe.
Okay. Yeah, this is just a +1 hand axe.
Well, plus
So,
1, plus 1.
It's a +1 hand axe. That's a good thing. I'll note that on his sheet.
And then the last item is the wand of the Minotaur. And that one fails. That's great.
You're never gonna know. You never know what that one does. Just how long have you been?
Well, I
had
can
it?
always wait until tomorrow and do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, what else? Anyone else have any other business that they're getting into while this is going on? Again,
I think it's worth
just real quick,
buying a couple of the critical scrolls. Yeah, go ahead.
Suspiciously, Baden is missing, and that's been the thing that's you haven't found him or seen him since you went to the sanctum. He's been MIA, but you imagine he's around or whatever. You just have not seen him at all, and you've been able to attend to all this other business and get into other things, have discussions with the other worshippers and Ogma followers who are in and around the temple. What else? Anything else anyone else wanted to do? I'm sorry if I left anyone out. I just want to make sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, if no one else wants to do anything, how much are they selling the clerical scrolls? Just normal cure light wounds.
Let's see. For you all, you're going to get a good discount. Let's see. Because they can actually, these are things they can make fairly easily here. So these are 100 gold for a cure light wounds.
How much were the healing potions?
400.
400, 400, yeah. Might be worth getting, like 10 of them and calling it good? Or do you think we should get more?
I got
You have
3.
that much gold left?
It has to be used by a cleric, though.
Correct. So Seharn or Bart.
Yeah, but we got 2 clerics.
Yeah.
You do. Again. Yeah.
Yep.
Healing is the one vital thing we always need.
Yep.
And never have enough of. Just
yeah. I'll dig in my pockets and pull out 1,000 gold and just lay it on the desk. And I don't know where it came from, guys. It just appeared.
Funny how that happened, but I guess it's all right now, huh?
Yeah, if you look at the coin, you might see the sea elves.
True, that's true. Which it in and of itself is almost like has more value, but it spends just the same, and you're able to get. You can pick those up, however many of those scrolls you're wanting. This is one of the things that they can pretty much make at will, and with the amount of time you have, you could load up. So you can get, what'd you say, 10 of these?
Yeah, 10 of them.
Okay.
And then I guess I will split them 5 and 5, hand 5 to Seharn, hand 5 to Bart, and
Nice. Okay. You guys got some paperwork handed your way.
I'm going to try
Clear
that.
light scrolls.
Yeah.
Cure light wounds. Yep.
Yeah, cure light wound.
Can't beat that. I want to try and identify on that wand of the Minotaur again.
Before we do that, is anyone else having anything? I think we'll make sure everybody has a chance if there's anyone else that's doing anything while we're still
Yeah.
identifying. Okay. All right. So the wand again. Go ahead. You can roll. It sounds like we're good. No way. Look at that. You can spend
Can
some
you
time looking for them.
can you fortune that? Have we used any this session? Or?
Yeah, you use a fortune. We got 5 left.
Yeah, let's try the fortune that.
That's a good point.
Let's use an astonishing fortune for that. We haven't used any this time around. Ton of
5
them.
more.
One more time.
No
Oh
way.
my
Okay.
All right.
It's not having it. Yeah.
I
It's just
think
not happening.
I honestly think after that many fails, Kurza, that you're gonna have to get someone else to do it because this thing is like beyond you.
How much to cast Identify?
Let's see, how much is it? It might be 1,000.
Oof.
Yeah, that's
It's
pricey.
only a first level spell, but still.
Well,
Yeah,
doesn't
that
it?
is pricey.
It takes a pearl. It takes the pearl.
I got the pearl. It's only 100 gold piece pearl.
Let me double check.
I'll provide the pearl.
It might be. I might have given you. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not that much. And especially here too. The fee here is 200.
How much if I provide the pearl?
If you provide the pearl,
Actually, no, I'll just pay the 200.
I was gonna say
I'll
one of
keep
them.
my pearl and
Yeah.
I'll just pay the 200.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Eliana would be able to perform this after you hit the wall with it and been able to nail down exactly what its function is. This was the wand you found on the Minotaur.
Yep.
All right, so this was, let's see, just going back to his character sheets. This is a wand of fear, and
Fear.
it has 50 charge, and one charge will project a 60-foot cone of fear. All creatures in the area must make a savings throw or be affected by the fear spell.
Oh,
It's quite expensive if you want to trade it in. It has a 10,000 gold piece value. So that's an option too if you don't like it, but I'll add it to your list here, and if you're keeping it or not, you can decide.
I'll trade that sucker in.
Okay.
That could be
We'll find out what they have
highly
first.
contagious.
What would you?
Well, the question is, what kind of wands do they have
Their wand
to
selection
trade for it?
was, let's see, they have Wand of Magic Missiles, Wand of Fireballs. The only one you can afford is Wand of Magic Missiles, as far as trade-in value of what your Wand of Fear could get you.
How much more is the
Actually
fireballs?
worth it.
The Fireballs is twice as much. It's 20.
Oh. I don't like
Magic missile
Kurza.
trade is worth it, man. Do it.
Yeah, how many charges does the wand of magic?
This Wand of Magic Missiles that you would be getting has 40 charges.
There's your ranged attack. There you go. As a mage.
Do they have a bag of holding?
Yes, they do have Bag of Holding. It's also 10,000.
Is that within the?
Yeah,
It
it would be a straight
Oh.
trade.
Let's go with the bag of holding.
Yeah, there you go. No more having to worry about where to put these chests and anything else that we find along the way. We just got one bag.
All right, so what you'll have is
Well,
a 1,000. You'll have a Type 3 Bag of Holding out of the 4 types that there
okay,
are. So yours is 1,000 pounds and 150 cubic feet.
that's a lot of space.
I think that what might make sense is to put that in the top of your treasury, your loot, and assume that either like all the things you're carrying are in there, or you may want to have a list of what's in the bag of holding. Like I could create a handout that's for the
Obviously.
bag of holding, and then you just keep what's in there versus what you're carrying. I don't know how you want to do that, but I'll add it inventory and loot your treasury.
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
What's the dimensions externally? What's this look like?
It looks like a medium-sized leather bag.
So it's
So you could fit, it's
and it's
150
always the
cubic
same
feet.
weight.
Yeah,
a couple feet
inside.
tall.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's full or anything, and it only weighs a couple of pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, it's true. It's 10 pounds basically of capacity. So, huge thing for the party to have for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who's going to carry it?
yeah.
The guy.
I might as well.
Yeah.
And then,
I'll move it into your
yeah. Is there a hat maker?
hat maker in here? Probably not. I'd say that'd be
Yeah.
more something you'd find out in the merchant district, though, that you could do.
Okay, that'll be later. A component.
Yeah, you'll have, hopefully when you get out of this lockdown, you'll have the chance to mill about town and do other things. But so the retraining
Yeah.
is out there. So anyone who's doing weapon or non-weapon proficiency training and retraining, that's an open thing between now and next session. You can go ahead and change whatever you need to and make sure you've spent all your non-weapon proficiencies and weapon proficiencies. You've got them used. If you don't use them, then you should probably take a language with them, just so that you guys have that in your toolbox. And then I think what I want to get to here before we end the session, now that I want to make sure everyone's had a chance to do anything they wanted to do as far as around the library. Kurza's been really busy identifying stuff. Is there anyone else that has any other business that they're doing other than the trading that we've done? Or
But yeah, at this point, maybe find Baden. Unless there's anyone else that wants to do something.
yeah, anyone else up to anything else before you maybe go sniffing around for Baden?
Nope. I'm perfectly content just to observe this session. It's been fun. They, yeah.
Thank you. Nod, you maybe, yeah, at some point or another, you're like, I'm gonna find him, right? And you start doing some
Sniffing him
sniffing,
out.
yeah, in the air to try to follow him. And you do follow your scent into one of the corners of the library in the dome that you hadn't really quite explored. It's a huge, vast building, and there's bookshelves on bookshelves, and this little nook you hadn't found yourself in, and you look over and you notice in the particular row that you're standing in that the construct archivist looks inanimate, and he's laying slumped over. What would you
Mm-hmm.
what would you like to do about that?
If there's no one with me, I would be hiding in shadows at this point to try to investigate further.
So
I can make a roll.
I think, yeah, you can definitely hide here. It is pretty shadowy, and you do find a spot to hide. And what I want to say is that maybe it would occur to Nod to take a look at this construct again through the eye or the lens that you have, and upon doing so, that intertwining magic that was keeping all the books and the construct together appears to have been dispelled, and it lay here now in this heap in the corner suspiciously. You can see it's the form, right? So you're definitely piecing together that it was it. And make a wisdom check, please. I mean, we're getting low if you want to, but
Yeah.
all right. So it definitely starts to strike you and occur to you that there wouldn't be a whole lot of people that could have dispelled this thing, because this would have been created very likely by Eliana or one of the other moderate level priests here. And so I think you start to suspect that Baden might have been able to dispel this thing, and you start to get suspicious of that idea, and your suspicions lead you to go and start to check on some of the books that were here, regarding the books that he had given and that you had given. And upon coming to that section of shelf, that there's a whole row of books that looks like it's been absolutely cleaned out. wiped
Oh
out,
boy.
like gone, and Baden's nowhere to be found, but his odor is all over the place. It's led you here. So you're the first one to discover this. How would you proceed?
Is there any way to tell what books he took? Like the sections around or the area that it's in?
Archivist would know
It's
exactly every book that's missing. I think for Nod, how about an intelligence check for Nod?
oh boy. It's not that bad.
It's pretty good,
It's
14
pretty
actually.
good. I think that you would quickly piece together that all of the mention of the Seychelles elves and Mithnantar books that and scripts and scrolls that you all contributed, but also a lot of ones that were here are now were a part of what was taken. Like that particular shelf was all about that, and it appears to have been cleared off.
Why
So
would he do that? Why would he do that?
Yeah,
You're not
that's
going to
that's
tell
probably
us.
what Nod's thinking. Like they've showed us
Yeah.
nothing but good faith, and they've even brought back our party, and now he's all but betrayed us, essentially.
Weren't we going to go with him anyway?
Yeah, that was the
That was on
plan.
the
So,
table, yeah. So what happened here?
you don't know yet exactly. It's
No,
just
we don't.
yeah, it's just that for right now you've definitely discovered this, and it's piqued your interest, and I assume you alert the group to this
yeah,
discovery. Yeah,
at
and
this point, maybe I'll probably go get them and bring them to the crime scene of the crime.
And
yeah.
alert the church.
So I think for
Oh,
yeah, for the others, like when you come here and you see that section and you see the missing tombs and whatnot, you didn't really go through that whole
maybe even the
area.
priestess as well.
But yeah, the others would know what was added and what was already here. And so if you inform Eliana, Gentis first will come and say, what in the hells have we here? And see Archivist laying there, and he'll say, this is not good. And he'll run off
No.
and fetch Eliana. And
And
Eliana,
maybe not throw Baden under the bus. Just this is what we found. You have a section of books. You have this guy down. Maybe just not throw Baden completely under. Just suspicions. We have no hard proof.
okay,
I got no
that's
problems throwing
fair.
him under the bus.
Yeah,
That's
otherwise
fair.
it's going to be
So,
directed at us.
Yeah,
so,
right?
so they'll
That's right.
return and see this, right, and piece together that where is your friend? Where is he off to? And who else would have done such a thing? This feels like a betrayal.
It certainly does. Because we were
Eliana,
planning to go
go ahead. Sorry.
to travel back with him to find the Mithnantar, but he's apparently decided he doesn't wish to travel with us any longer.
Well, he wouldn't get far with the districts being shut down unless he took some other path. I will have everyone look, and she tells Gentis, have the group seek out our friend and see if he has gone far. Pass on word to the elders that we have some knowledge that may have escaped our reach. And with that, she turns and casts a spell, and Archivist raise again from his pile of books, and just as if nothing happened, begin to start to straighten things out. And even the section where you had just been looking, some of the books were misplaced and leaning and things, and he just immediately starts straightening them out and putting them back into orderly fashion. And you all are left to think about that. Any
I don't
good?
I don't
Me,
suppose it's able to talk or communicate with her, or is it more just mindless program servant? So I
Um,
was wondering if it could, like, you know,
yeah,
finger the
she can
finger the guy.
she can communicate with it and doesn't have any awareness of what had happened to it. It just seems to felt like it shut off and was surprised very likely by it.
Going back to Dabness, so to speak.
Hmm.
make this
I have an
right.
idea where he is.
I guess he's not our friend.
Difficult to say.
Evidently not.
Definitely impatient. He's grown impatient. I think Eliak is another one that you might talk to about this, and he'll say he's not coming back. He doesn't want the short end of the stick either. And maybe you're getting a sense that like he and Baden had vented a little bit together about the pace of play and things that they wanted to be doing differently, and that he might know a little bit more about how disgruntled Baden was than you all realized. So he's maybe even cast a little bit more doubt on Baden, but again, nothing at this point, Nod said, really totally confirms that it was him and what he's up to. And Eliana will get the church and their crew looking for him as well to try to confirm what's happened. So they feel like he couldn't have gone far. So we'll leave it parked there. We'll let our minds wonder on where and what he's doing, and we'll pick up next
Okay.
session back here, and we'll figure out next steps. But before we adjourn, I wanted to give you guys a chance, like, when once the veil lifts and the doors unlock and the districts are passable, what would be the order of business for you guys that you might be headed towards next? That might be a discussion you're having in these waning days of the lockdown.
I guess we're not going back to Myth-Nantar.
No, but maybe
I
we
mean,
could
well, we
look down Furbus if we can find him. Put the word out any way we can that if anyone's seen Renwick,
Great point.
like we're looking for him, and yeah, he's committed.
We could always take up the task of our new potential employers here.
Go look for
Yeah.
Colin.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he's going to try to take the ship out as soon as so he
Let-
might be making plans on the docks.
Yeah, we should go talk to captains.
I
Yeah.
wanted to share with you what Tim sent me earlier, that Griff wanted to do a couple things. Go to the Chum Bucket, which is the name of the place where you met Furbus in the Harbor District, and not long before or after you had met Seharn. He wanted to make contact with Harper's and tell them what's going on with his arc and see if the Harpers can help you all. And he had mentioned about the crown being used to help raise you all, so he was all for that idea, which made that great. And then he also mentions here, and I think Bart mentioned this earlier to Kurza, that you do still have a curse that you're carrying on your arms that you may be able to research and find more information on. But again, where we'll pick up next session is where you'll be able to pass freely around Procampur and do other things in and or outside of the temple. So that's what we'll lean towards next section. So if there's any other thoughts about what you all might want to do next session, it might help me if you let me know if there's anything that's pressing. So I'm ready for that. But
So next session will be a few days in the future. Is that where we're at then? At the
well,
place
like
to do
in my
all this?
mind, we've just done the lockdown rolls and all of the identification spells, and then finding this missing wizard. And so yeah, we've just probably played 5 to 7 days
Okay.
of that, and then we'll pick up at
Okay.
the end
So
of it.
we're in the future. Okay.
And so Seharn and I are recovered.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full hit
Cool.
points and all. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're all back
And the
to
veil
health.
is gone.
You're back to full health, and the veil will be lifted at the beginning of next session. For as far as this session is concerned, that's where we'll have it all come to a head.
So now we're on a cops and robbers session. Get Renwick before he gets out of town.
Baden, yeah,
Baden,
figure out
I'm
what
sorry, yeah, Baden.
Baden's up to and what he's off to and what your choices are there.
I feel like we owe our benefactors, that we at least try
Well,
You
Did
what he
steal
may
from
try and do
There was no
is go
need for
back through
that.
the portal.
and go
But
all the way back up.
he's put himself out there on his own when he would have had us with him as backup if that's where he's going, right? Because
Yeah, and he was
we were
talking.
willing.
Well, he could
And
probably pick up some other adventures while he's here too.
That's true.
Yeah, and so can you, right? So that's the other thing I was going to mention is that the temple has offered you a pretty big arc that would be in starting to involve the hierarchy of Procampur, and that's something that you can pursue if you want to do. That's going to be more about getting enriched and those types of things, and starting to gain status in Procampur. The whole thing of where Baden goes and what he's doing and whether or not you're going back anyway with or without him to your portal next, like that whole arc. And then obviously what I pasted in here from Griff, he wants to make contact with Harper's and share information with them. You probably have more research to do. You still have the tattoos cursing you. So definitely a lot of things we can get into. If there's anything that you all come up with, you can just share it in the Discord or let me know, and
Okay.
I'll try to be ready for it. But I guess we'll park it here. This is a good session. I'm glad we got that. We got 2 characters back from Beyond, which is absolutely huge. So pretty awesome. And we have a new PC.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that was an
old PC.
it was quite a twist of fate, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I wanted to give you guys
Yeah, it was.
agency on that. I really wanted it to be your decision as to whether or not you had unfinished business, or you wanted to just go with something different and close your character, and it be your decision. And thankfully, the dice went along with that. What would have happened had you failed would have been gut wrenching. Had you made the decision to be your brother and then you're like not even resurrected, like that would have been tough.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it all worked out, and you've got we'll get you set up with your new token and the artwork and everything for the next one. And
Yeah, and I'll go look at the kits in the
yeah,
Barbarian handbook.
and
Yeah.
we'll get Kurza. I'll get you switched over, so your XP is now splitting between the 2 classes. We'll just have to catch Tim up on what's going on and hope he can make it next session. But
Yeah.
all right, guys.
Yeah.
I only took the 3 or 4 non-weapon proficiencies that are automatic for the scout. I didn't take any additional ones, so I'll drop a few for that I had before, but I'll still probably end up with more.
Yeah, you can. You should have more non-weapon proficiencies with rogue being in your mix, and you take the higher of the 2. Yeah. So you can retool Kurza, and I'm gonna get new artwork for Kurza too, so that he reflects the new change that he's got class-wise. And yeah, it was fun. I hope everybody had a good time, and I enjoyed the hell
yeah.
out of it.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
fun.
That was pretty
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank
all
you,
right,
Jamie.
thank you.
Thank
We'll
you, everyone.
Well, good night
see
then.
you next
Glad to
time.
have y'all back.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
welcome
and I
back.
could see everyone too. That was nice.
Just about.
Oh yeah.
All right, take care, all. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yep.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Good night.
Bye all.